This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Patterson and Michael Remis.
Hey now, welcome to another Friday, a Marble Friday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Michael Remis in the host chair for another day while Hustler is in sunny Costa Rica. So pumped to be joined or be on the show talking to you right now. I'll be joined in a second by Connor Hrabchak. We've got some great guests today. We're going to be talking a lot about the Winnipeg Jets' 4-1 loss to Tampa Bay last night. The Winter Olympics, 1 week away. The opening ceremonies, full preview, Team Canada's medal hopeful, and who will be the breakout star. We'll be talking about all that with Jesse Campigotto of CBC. He's got the newsletter, The Buzzer. A link in the description to that if you want to keep up to date on everything Olympics. Ken Wiebe was in Tampa last night. He's at the Jets practice today, where we do have some line shuffling to discuss. He'll be joining us later on in the show. And Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, as we're a week away from Super Bowl weekend. But there's been some big news in the NFL this week with Bill Belichick not here. He won't be getting to the Hall of Fame on his first try. And the Minnesota Vikings fire their GM, while last year's quarterback Sam Darnold carried the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. The Winnipeg Jets going into Tampa Bay yesterday. Scott Arneal said at pregame, Tampa, an elite team, one of the best in the NHL, and they proved it fast, aggressive, and they took advantage of the Winnipeg Jets' mistakes. The Jets, once they fell behind, they were chasing the game all night. They exited the first period down 1-0. They were down 2-0 and, made it 2-1, but immediately Tampa took over. The Winnipeg Jets, when trailing after two periods, won 18-2. Once they're behind, they have a tough time scoring goals to get back. Scott Arneal talked about the team not wanting to get on the inside. We're going to play those clips, and you saw the one goal they scored. Kyle Connor had a nice tip on a point shot from Dylan Samberg. Tampa Bay's elite players, made elite plays. Nikita Kucherov and Andrei Vasilevsky. Even with all their injuries, Darren Radish again stepped up for a multi-point night. So Winnipeg Jets 21-25-7 outside a playoff spot. I saw Money Puck had their odds at just over 3%. So I think we can put that dream of the playoffs to bed if we haven't already. They're 1-1 on the road trip, practicing today ahead of the Florida Panthers, back-to-back Stanley Cup champion. Another tough, heavy opponent. Let's bring him in. Connor Hrabchak. He hosted the post-game show last night with Liz Hood. Was a great listen. I tuned into that. Connor is hosting Sunday Live, so no post-game after tomorrow, but you'll be there bright and early on Sunday. Connor, what's going on? What did you think of that game last night, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, great to be here, Remis, on a Friday Marble edition of WST. Would have been nice if, we were talking about a statement win last night. But yeah, Tampa Bay is unbelievably good. And I was saying on the postgame last night, like the Winnipeg Jets, what Tampa Bay did in the third period, where the Jets were the ones chasing a 3-1 lead, yet Tampa had a 16-4 shot advantage. I feel like that's what the Winnipeg Jets used to do to teams. Just lean on them. The forecheck was all over them. Despite them leading, they would be the better team in the third period. And that proved to be the case for Tampa Bay, who on our power poll yesterday, Remis, was second. They're second in the NHL standings for a reason. And it's crazy. You look at the lines yesterday for Tampa Bay. You were watching the game. Outside of Kucherov, Cirelli, Hagel, you're probably looking at half of the forwards saying, who is that? Their top pairing is Moser, Radish, two casts off over their careers that are having an unbelievable year on their top pair. No Hedman, no Point. Their pro scouting, their amateur scouting, so elite. And this is the biggest reason why they're in the position that they're in. And I think the title of today's video, calling Tampa Bay a buzzsaw, is a very accurate term for what happened last night, especially in that third period where it looked like an elite NHL team against a very below average NHL team. And that's what it was going in, and that's what it ended up being.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough one for the Winnipeg Jets. Scott Arneal, after the Detroit game, he went angry. He went aggressive on his comments. I felt like he had kind of similar comments today, but maybe kept it more, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Here was Scott Arneal after the game last night.
It seemed like you generated the way that you wanted to in the first, but in the last two periods it wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah, for the second period it wasn't what they took away. It was our stubbornness not to get the pucks down the goal line. We turned the puck over 6-7 times just inside their blue line, and if you do that against transition teams like Tampa, I mean, they're going to go the other way, and got us back on our heels. All we were doing was back checking and having to track back, and I thought, the third period, they certainly, they were doing a real good job of keeping numbers up above our numbers and trying not to let us, get inside. It's another thing for us, especially in the third there. We didn't do enough to get pucks off the wall, get inside, and attack the net from the inside out.
Couldn't get pucks off the wall. They turned the puck over too many times. Couldn't get inside. Scott Arneal discussed their inability to have a little bit of a push in the third period and come back once they were down.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that's still kind of been sort of us in the sense of trying to score goals, consistently throughout the lineup. We Jersey the other night, we got off and got 4, and tonight, there was some looks. I know Barron had a couple. There was some real good looks there, but at the end of the day, their goaltender, stood tall. But at the end, for us, can't play on the outside against a team like that. You got to get on the inside. You can't turn pucks over. And for me, those are the areas that, kind of what you have to do on a consistent basis.
Right, tough to sustain offense when those elements aren't there.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa's not going to let you play on the outside and give you some kind of one-timer from distance. I mean, especially with, you look at our goal. I mean, we got traffic in front of Vasilevsky, a high tip. They didn't see it. And that has to be a constant. It just was too far between when we did it on had to do it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, is that teams taking it away or maybe not getting to the hard areas a little bit?
That's a will. That's a compete thing. It's you have to decide. You're going to go inside where the heavy hitting's happening. That's something you got to do. It's if you don't want to do it, then you're going to end up having numbers like this tonight.
There's Scott Arneal with Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press. Shout out to the Free Press, sending their reporters on the road when many newspapers are not doing that. And Mike McIntyre will be at the Milan Olympics next week. The one comment there from Coach Arneal that stood out to me, Connor, is when he talked at the end about needing the will to want to go into the heavy areas and take some punishment. And the Jets don't. He said the Jets don't seem have to do that. He called them soft on Saturday. He didn't use the term, the S word, in this one, but I don't know. It almost made it sound like they were scared to go into the areas and where you need to go to score goals in this league. And he referenced the one goal they did score.
Yeah, I mean, the tone is very different. The words are very much similar in terms of, not going to the hard areas. Like you said before you teed up the clips, I think it's more of a disappointment than an anger. When Saturday was an anger, end of the homestand, 1-1 game, all of those things. And last night, I mean, Tampa Bay just leaned on the Jets in the third. Their forecheck was unbelievable. And he referenced it there in those clips, the stubbornness to not get the puck deep and all of those things. They spent the game chasing and going back for pucks. And that's when Tampa Bay is at their best, is when they're forechecking and creating turnovers and getting the puck to Nikita Kucherov, who can, fire passes into the slot and all of those things. So, and even in the first period when, I think that was the Jets' best period, Andre Vasilevsky made some massive saves. Like, Tampa Bay is such a buzzsaw, and then you do get a chance. Oh, yeah, they have one of the best goalies in the world, too, who made some pretty strong saves early on. And, it's just one of those teams where you have to have your AA plus game, and the Jets haven't brought that many, many times this season, and they didn't have it last night, so it resulted in a Tampa Bay win in a game where look, one penalty there, they score 6 on 5. One breakdown in the neutral zone ends up in the back of your net. That's the 1-0 goal. The third period, you don't generate really anything. I think only 4 shots on goal, 12 shots on goal in the last 2 periods combined. Just not good enough against a team like Tampa as you look at the standings and see them all the way up there.
Yeah, let's go back into the Winnipeg Jets locker room. Adam Lowry had some comments on the game.
I just think puck management, puck decisions. I thought early on, we were able to advance the puck and create some chances that way. And then in the second period, I think, we started feeding into that transition game. They do a great job stretching guys out and then hitting seams and hitting the guy in the slot, and kind of fed into that. Just management, I think, it's frustrating because, I thought we had been playing a decent hockey game. You were right in it, and then, they make it 2-0, and we fight to get it back, and then, kind of feed right back into their offense.
So there it is, Adam Lowry post game. And Connor, we saw some line shuffling during the game, and it seems like that line shuffling has continued here into today's practice. What did you think of the move Scott Arneal made in game yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it's at what point, Remis, is it weird, funny? I don't even know what the adjective is, that Connor and Scheifele seem to be the only two that don't get touched every time there's a massive line blender. Like last night's game, it went back to Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo. And I mean, that was the line that they broke up against the New Jersey Devils because they hadn't been scoring in many, many games. So to reunite them for the third when you're down 2 goals against Tampa, I don't really know if that had not been working in the past week, and to go back to it, I mean, I didn't think that was going to work. But then Barron moves up to the second line with Perfetti and Velarde, and that's a line that actually, fans have been asking for more Morgan Barron. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of that. The third line remains unchanged, but today at practice, they changed it up. We'll get into those lines a little bit, and Ken Wiebe will come on a little bit later on. He was down at the skate. They changed the lines again, but it's still Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo. Here it is. Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo, Perfetti, Lowry, Velarde, Niederreiter, Taves, Nemesnikov, and then Koepke, Barron, Nyquist. I just think they just played a game against Florida a week ago, and Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo didn't really generate much at all. So they're going into this game against Florida with the very same thing. And the question I've been asking myself all season long, Remis, of what will it take to see Connor and Scheifele apart from one another? We're not there yet. We haven't seen it yet. 11-game losing streaks, 29th in the NHL. The answer has not been found quite yet. And look, every other duo in the NHL spends time apart from one another. McDavid and Draisaitl, Kaprizov and Boldy, go up and down the list. Everyone spends time away from one another except for Connor and Scheifele. It's puzzling to me. I don't know. I don't know where you're at on it.
I see the lines, and yeah, Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo, they had a stretch there, where it worked, and a stretch where it didn't. Adam Lowry, I think he's really struggled since coming back from the surgery. Is he going to be your second line, or Morgan Barron, one of the few guys, with speed on this team? You look to give him a shot up on the lineup. Cole Koepke, we mentioned yesterday on the show that he scored more goals, in the last 18 games than that third line, Lowry, Niederreiter, Nemesnikov had in that span. Is he a guy who deserves a couple minutes? I think ultimately, Connor, this team, they're bottom in the NHL. Look at the league standings. As I pull it up, they are 29th of 32 teams. You might as well try splitting up Connor and Scheifele. How much worse could it possibly be at this point? So I think, when they're switching we do a crazy change, not a crazy change, but a widespread change over and over, and these guys are sticking together. It does kind of raise the alarm bells. They're like, what's going on here at this time? What does it have to take? Why not at least give it a try? I thought Connor and Perfetti played well together for a brief time last year, and they haven't really gone back to that. You might as well try stuff now while you're not going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that line of thinking. And the Perfetti thing is so interesting because he's a guy that we've been talking about all year is struggling and needing to get going, and it's a contract year for him. So are the Jets going to go into a contract negotiation with Cole Perfetti without finding out if he has chemistry with another guy they just committed 8 years to in Kyle Connor. Like, we're going to go this whole year without doing that. And again, I know there's a lot of time left still, but you look at the percentages, Remis, you brought it up earlier. Money Puck has it down to 3%. Some of the other models that were a little bit more bullish on the Jets, maybe in the 15% range after last night's loss, they went back down to 10%. Other teams that they're chasing in the wild card race got points last night too. And that's even with, Vancouver beating Anaheim. The Jets percentage still went down, even though Anaheim is a team that they're chasing. So the playoffs, I mean, like, are a very far dream at this point. And yeah, I mean, you could try Connor Scheifele out follow, but like long term, what is that going to do? Like, I'd love to see Kyle Connor play with Cole Perfetti. This is something I've brought up many times, even last year on Sunday Live, but the Jets were great last year. So maybe carried a little bit less steam. This year, it's like, well, you're 29th. You've lost 11 straight games at one point in the year. Yeah, you had a good stretch as of late, but you're not really scoring goals in this stretch either. I'd like to see some different combinations. And again, they committed to Gabe Vilardi long-term with a 6-year deal. They also committed to Kyle Connor long-term. His 8-year deal kicks in next year. I'd like to see if he can drive his own line. Maybe get a guy like Cole Perfetti going as you embark on an era where you're going to pay him $96 million US over the next 8 years. I'd like to see him create away from Mark Scheifele. I think he can do it. I think he's a very talented player. But hey, maybe if your team tank, you just want them to keep rolling Connor and Scheifele because this is where they're at. And if they keep going, maybe they'll keep losing. I don't know what the mindset is around the fan base on that, Remis.
Yeah, I think, well, you don't want to see them lose. We saw how low it got during that 11-game losing streak, but I think ultimately losing will lead to a higher draft pick where you can get a better player who could help in the future, and you can have under team control for a long time. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, as I see some people in the chat don't want to see the team losing. Connor, the trade deadline around the corner. Some may say there's 2 trade deadlines. The pre-Olympic trade deadline, well, coming up, the Jets' last game is on February 4, next Wednesday against Montreal. We will be there with the Winnipeg Sports Talk Group, winnipegjets.com/WST. And I should, give a shout out to all the sponsors who are making this show happen. I don't think I gave a shout out at the start of the show. The Jets, Uptown Alley, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental, Canadian Club, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports. We've got the Power Pole coming up, Manitoba Battery, Clean Line, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, World Sports, and Cool Bet. But the trade deadline coming up, and a lot of rumblings, a lot of rumors being floated out there. And anytime an insider mentions the Jets, we're obligated to talk about it. Does this even count as a mention? Elliot Friedman was on his podcast, 32 Thoughts. Didn't mention any names, but all he had to say was, keep an eye on Winnipeg and Detroit. Here's the clip from Elliot and Kyle Bukauskas.
You mentioned Detroit earlier as part of the Panarin conversation.
Yeah.
They put themselves in a very good spot. Them and Winnipeg. You're hearing something could be percolating?
I don't know exactly what it is, but I had a couple people say to me they heard Detroit at Winnipeg, that there might be a match there.
Is that a Luke Shen desire for the Wings, perhaps?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know. Part of me wondered if it, could be like Logan Stanley, but I just, they have Edvinsson missing on that one side right now. So,
yep.
But I assume he's going to be back. But someone just said to me, Detroit, Winnipeg, there might be a match there. There's a bunch of ex-Jets there. Cop.
Yeah, Mason Appleton.
But Appleton, that's right. There you go. I knew there was more than one. I just couldn't remember them all off the top of my head. But someone just said Detroit, Winnipeg. They thought there might be a match. People just give me hints and see what I can do with them. So you know what I do with them? I throw them out in a podcast.
So there's Elliot jokingly mentioning, someone just said Detroit and Winnipeg, and he forgot about Jets legend Ben Sherratt there on defense, along with Kopp and Appleton. That's right, a big part of the playoff runs in the past. So I don't know what you make of that. What do you think the fit is? If it's just a Logan Stanley or Luke Schenn going for a draft pick, does Gus Nyquist, a former Red Wing, do they look to bring back in? Does someone look to bring in Gus Nyquist, who really hasn't had any success with the Jets this year, has been a healthy scratch, did practice today on the fourth line? Does someone look to bring him in? I'm not sure. What do you think of Elliott throwing out Winnipeg and Detroit as a possible match for a trade?
I mean, it's funny because he clearly just got like a text from someone that he trusts to keep an eye on this, but he has no inkling as to which player it might be. Like, they're literally guessing on the pod, and that leaves us to guess, I guess, in terms of, could it be Luke Schenn? Could it be Logan Stanley? I thought maybe Stanley is an option there. But like Elliott said, I mean, Simon Edvinsson is currently hurt for the Red Wings, and he'll come back, and he's like a top 4 left shot defenseman. They just signed Ben Sherratt to an extension. He plays in their top 4. Maybe they want to acquire Logan Stanley to bump Ben Sherratt down. I mean, I don't know. And then on the right side, they've got Mo Seider. That's their top pair guy. They've got Axel Sandin-Pellikka, who's playing in their top 4, one of their young standout players that has driven them to this point. But then on their third pair, Travis Hamonic, Jacob Bernard-Docker might slide down there too. Maybe they think they're a little thin on the third pair and are looking at Luke Schenn in terms of pending UFAs. Maybe they're looking at a Jonathan Toews, a Gustav Nyquist for their forward core. I mean, their bottom 6 has generated this season and is a big reason why they're in the spot that they're in. But maybe they want some more veteran presence in that group, because they do have some young players down there as well. I don't know. This is the thing where we can all sit here and guess, like, what if I threw out a name like Dylan DeMello if the Red Wings are looking for a right shot defenseman, right? Like, is he completely off the table if we're just leaving this to guessing here? It's interesting because Detroit is a team definitely that is very good, and the standings reflect that, but they definitely have some holes. And if they're talking with the Winnipeg Jets, they could be a team that is a suitor at the upcoming trade deadline. And like you said, Remis, maybe there are 2 trade deadlines coming up here.
Yeah, what about reuniting Jonathan Toews with Patrick Kane? How would that look in a Detroit uniform? And shout out to Patrick Kane. Last night became the all-time American-born scoring leader, passing Mike Modano, 1,375 points. Passing Modano's 1,374. Did it in less games as well, 1,342. What a career Patrick Kane has had, and a bit of a resurgence here this season in Detroit.
Yeah, 100%, Remis. And Patrick Kane was a guy, he had major hip surgery a few years ago, and it was, is he going to fall off a cliff in terms of production? And he hasn't. And he's a big reason as well why the Detroit Red Wings are up where they are in the standings. And I know people are going to be curious if a Jets and Red Wings trade does materialize, what could that look like? Detroit has a pick in every single round in this upcoming draft, the first, second, third, all the way down to round 7. So that could be a thing. In terms of cap space, it says they have $30 million in cap space. And in terms of deadline cap space, they've accrued so much that they're going to have $55 million in deadline cap. So they can fit in any contract. That's not a problem for them. And they're absolutely one of these teams that's going to be buying at the deadline because of how much deadline cap space they have, because of the age of their core and Mo Seider and Dylan Larkin taking that next step, Lucas Raymond as a younger player taking that next step, and all the picks and cap space that they have, they're absolutely a player. So whether it's the second round pick that the Jets are looking to recoup from the Luke Schenn trade, they have that. They have a first rounder, and they have picks in every single round, and they have prospects too. They are one of the teams that has a very strong prospect pool, not only players playing and contributing to the team right now like Marco Kasper, but players like Nate Danielson that aren't even on the team right now and really contributing to what is a strong prospect pool. So Detroit has a lot of assets. They're absolutely going to be a buyer. And if the Jets and Red Wings are talking trade, I think that's a good thing for Jets fans that want to see the team be sellers at the deadline because they have a lot of assets that the Jets can target.
Something to watch out for as we have our ear to the rumor mill. Anytime an insider mentions a Jets player, we will be playing that clip and discussing. Connor, you getting fired up here for the Winter Olympics next Friday?
Yes. Fired up, Remis. I'm looking forward to our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll a little bit later on. We're going to be doing our top 5 Winter Olympic sports. I think people can maybe guess what we'll have at number 1. But the Winter Olympics, I said this on a show, I think earlier this week, big fan of the Winter Olympics, not just the hockey, but all of the events. So that'll be super, super fun. And I think as well, Remis, I think we could all use a little bit of a break from the Winnipeg Jets right now and all put our Team Canada gear on and cheer for McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, Celebrity, Makar, cheer for this loaded hockey team and cheer on the rest of the Canadian athletes in all of the events over there in Milano, Cortina. Again, there's going to be events all day long because of kind of the time change. Like you can just wake up, throw on events. It's going to be awesome. And the hockey's going to be in the morning. Canada's game against Czechia, their first game is at 9:30 in the morning Central Time. So excited for this tournament and excited for having Olympic sports on my TV really all day long, starting in about a week here.
Yeah, we're going to hear more about Canada's top medal hopefuls, events to watch, and top storylines with Jesse Campigotto of CBC. He's got the newsletter, The Buzzer, the most comprehensive daily report on what Canada did and what's coming up. Link in the description. We're going to bring in Jesse in a second, but first, here's Huss.
During these cold winter days, and you're looking for things to do, might I suggest you head down and see our friends at Uptown Alley at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. While it's cold outside, things are heating up on the lanes at Uptown Alleys with tons of 5-pin lanes, 10-pin lanes, and an incredible state-of-the-art arcade, and so much more for both group parties, corporate events, or just getting together with your gang or the family to kill some time when it's a little bit tough to be outside. Uptown Alley has incredible food and beverage options as well. So it's a great place to spend an evening, spend a day, grab something to eat, and have a heck of a lot of fun. It is the perfect place for birthday parties for kids, teens, or adults. And their event staff will take care of your group or corporate event and make it so easy. All you do is decide what activities you want, what you're going to be eating, any add-ons, and their event staff will take care of everything else. You can find out more information on all of it at uptownalley.ca. Give them a call at 488-0000. And don't forget, 7 days a week, their bowl and play special after 9 p.m., $20.49 for 90 minutes of 5-pin bowling and a $10 arcade card. Well, it's cold outside. Heat things up on the lanes at Uptown Alley. Our friends at Rolly's Transfer are ready to help you make that move in 2026. If you will be moving, there's a lot of stress that goes on with it. Well, Rolly's, family-owned and operated for over 60 years, and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, has been lessening the stress for their clients now into their 7th decade. Check out their website at rollys.com. You can click on request an estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Then let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for over 60 years. For all your moving needs, lean on Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today online at rollys.com. Do have to shout out our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Of course, they've been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans in St. Vital for years. And now our pal Dr. Terry and his great staff have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building. They do it all for clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. Whatever your dental needs, they're there for you. And if it's been a little while since you've been to the dentist, better you do it proactively as opposed to when it just hurts too much and you got to get in there. For all your dental needs, head on over to St. Vital Dental Center. Tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. Find out more. Book online today for an appointment at stviteldental.ca. And hey, football season feels like it's not just around the corner, but you know, the snow's going to melt. We'll be back at Princess Auto Stadium, cheersing each other with Canadian Club, the official Canadian whiskey and official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But while you might be staying at home a little bit more these days, pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts and get Canada's iconic Canadian whiskey, the good stuff, since 1848 at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And when you're at your local beer store, make sure to keep your eyes out for remaining stock of the amazing limited edition Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale, which was such a big hit over the holiday season. Available in 4-packs and 473 milliliter singles at Liquor Mart locations and your local beer stores as well.
Pleased to be joined by Jesse Campigotto.
We obviously at CBC Sports, we cover these.
All right, I recorded with Jesse earlier. Of course, there's an issue with that recording. The lovely Connor, I'll bring you on for a second as I re-render this thing. Connor, the Winnipeg or TSN's coming out with a feature all this week, Face of the Franchise. And they picked Dale Hrabchak as the Winnipeg Jets face of the franchise. Where do you stand on that one? Is he the right pick for the face of the franchise?
100% Remis. And I don't think it's a hot take. I'm curious. I'll read through some of these comments while you render that. I'm curious what people would think the face of the franchise would be if it was only 2.0. So throw your pick in the comment down below. If it was just since 2011, who's the face of the Winnipeg Jets franchise? But as a whole, as you know, Remis, they took the 1.0 franchise and the 2.0 franchise, and either way, it's Dale Hrabchak, the guy with a statue out front of Canada Life Center. And really, I mean, number one overall pick all of those years ago. Still, Mark Scheifele is chasing Dale Hrabchak's records to this day. And look, maybe at the end of his career, Connor Hrabchak might get there in terms of, he's won an MVP, multiple Vezinas, is going to go down as one of the best goalies of his generation. But for right now, it's absolutely Dale Hrabchak. And I don't think that's a hot take with the statue out front of the stadium, as we all know. Some people, Rob Mahoney saying Mark Scheifele, Nick Lynham saying face of the franchise is Connor Hrabchak. Buff from Jay Miller 2.0. Schickster says Scheifele. Hrabchak, Scheifele. Scheifele. I think Scheifele is fair. First pick of the new franchise, is going to end up with all of these records. He's on pace to pass Dale Hrabchak pretty soon as well. But yeah, Connor Hrabchak definitely has the personal awards, the individual awards to go up there. Will Sutton, if Solani was here longer, he would have had a chance. That's a fair take, I'd say. Helly is the face of the franchise. Helly's the answer. Yeah, looks like Connor Hrabchak or Mark Scheifele, the guys that signed matching 7-year contract extensions, would be one of the faces of the franchise there. But I think it's a great pick for Dale Hrabchak when you take both franchises into account. I don't think that's a hot take at all, Remis. Do you need me to keep rolling through these comments, or have you re-rendered this pre-tape?
I think it's good to go.
Let's check it out.
And yeah,
what are your thoughts on the face of the franchise?
TSN had Solani on the thumbnail, but I mean, I don't think he was here for a good time, a really good time, record-setting time. Not a long time,
sure,
though. And Mark Scheifele has a lot of the records. That's my first inkling. Mark Scheifele, he's been here for day one. He's the first ever draft pick. Again, up there with all the franchise leaders. But I think, maybe in 5 years, once Connor Hrabchak moves up all the NHL ranks for goaltenders, you could certainly make an argument for him as well. But here, we'll get to more hockey talk. Ken Wiebe coming up. But it's a week away from the Olympics. Pleased to be joined. Here's my conversation with Jesse Campigotto from CBC. Pleased to be joined by Jesse Campigotto.
We obviously at CBC Sports, we cover these sports year round.
All right, I don't know what's going on. I'll fix this. Whatever. This is happening now. That's fine. I'll play it a different way. Let's go to. Let's try it again. Let's try it one more time. Here's my conversation with Jesse. Oh, there's no sound. There's no sound. Great. Awesome. So, Connor, we'll go back to more Jets conversations while I troubleshoot this. Sometimes things work right away. Sometimes they don't. The Athletic
All good.
has their arena rankings. Connor, Canada Life Center ranking. What was it? 10 of
I think it's 13
or 13. Let me bring it up. 13.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, thoughts on what they had to say about the arena situation for the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah. So location, amenities, atmosphere, affordability, fan score, beat writer score, and an overall score were all of the things that they ranked. And the Winnipeg Jets come in at 13, right behind the United Center in Chicago. And then before that, Rogers Place, before that, Madison Square Garden, all of those things. So Canada Life Center 13th, 19th in location, 19th in amenities, 11th in atmosphere, 6th in affordability, 13th in fan score, 10th in beat writer score, and overall a 7.6 score gives them 13th. And some of the fan perspective here that they quoted: great views, usually great atmosphere. Only issue is the tight seating. They've improved a lot since COVID. Live music pregame and at intermissions, redoing the concourse, more local food options, drink options. Obviously the smallest arena in the league, but fine for the size of the city. One fan said, if you measure the arena atmosphere in January, it's average or below average. But if you take it in the midst of a playoff run, it's punching in the top 3, was what another fan said. And that last comment, absolutely. If you take the atmosphere in the middle of a playoff run, the Winnipeg whiteout, if you've experienced it, it's absolutely in the top 3 of atmospheres around the NHL. And then earlier on, this other comment about live music pregame and all of those things. I don't know what people's thoughts are on Mach 10 or any of the bands that they have in the building, but I think it just adds to the atmosphere. It's instead of just ripping ads for 17 minutes at the intermission, at least there's some dancing, some music, the local food options and drink options. I think fans would really appreciate as well. Would love to get Huss's thoughts on this, as he's probably taking those in obviously more often than I am. But in terms of the great views, I've heard from a lot of season ticket holders and even, some of my buddies that just buy single game tickets and go to the games that they can, that they buy tickets wherever and they don't really think that there's a bad seat in the house. And when you have a stadium that's 15,000, that's absolutely, that should be the case. There shouldn't be a bad seat in the house when the arena is that capacity. And it's good to see that that's kind of coming through on the fan perspective. And I'm curious as what other people think. I honestly didn't think the Jets would be this high on this, Remo, but 13th, Canada Life Center, not bad. And absolutely for the playoffs, you get the Winnipeg whiteout going in there. I think the atmosphere goes from 11th to in the top 3, as one fan said.
Yeah, and look, if you're going to a January game of this year, of course the atmosphere not going to be there. But I agree. I think they've done a great job revamping some of the entertainment. The Mach 10's been a really nice ad, especially. I'll never forget Mach 10's legendary performance. They went into overtime in that game 7, and I think they played "Don't Stop Believing" before what they ended it. So.
Double overtime. They did 2. I think they did 2 intermission hits during the game 7, if I'm not mistaken.
So I thought it was pretty good. And then even on the theme nights, it's been solid. Did you want to look at some of the other arenas that were on the top here?
Yeah, I'll take a look through. I mean, Madison Square Garden being 10, I think affordability takes it down quite a bit in that. I haven't looked at that ranking, but the Bell Center is number 1. Montreal, everyone tells you it's the mecca of hockey, if you will. They're number 1 in fan rank as well. T-Mobile Arena is number 2. Tampa Bay, where the Winnipeg Jets just were last night, is number 3. Bridgestone Arena, that's in Nashville, that's number 4. Detroit, number 5. That's the top 5. Detroit just got a new arena, so that makes sense. Nashville, the atmosphere probably kicks it up a notch. And then Vegas as well, of course. And then the Bell Center. I mean, the Bell Center gets first in location, 21st in affordability, but first in fan score and first in beat writer score. And of course, first in atmosphere, as well as whenever the Habs are in the playoffs, or even last year when we saw the Four Nations game between Canada and the US, that was an incredible atmosphere. I think we could all tell through the TV. How about Scotiabank Arena, Remis, the Leafs home, 28th. And let me scroll down here and see see why. Affordability 32nd. I don't think that's shocking to anyone. Atmosphere 32nd. Also not shocking. Location is 5th. Amenities 22nd. Fan score 30th. Beat writer score 13th. But obviously the atmosphere and the affordability playing a huge role there in the Leafs being 28th. And who's last? Who's the worst arena in the league? Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa. I'd have to think location plays a big part there because they're out not near downtown.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to too many arenas. I've been, but Calgary's is one that, you know, feels like the old Winnipeg arena. I guess I've only been to the ones at the bottom, Honda Center, Crypto.com. Maybe Ken can weigh in later after we finally get to this Olympic preview that I've been teasing repeatedly over and over. Gotta love computers. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Let's try it again. Pleased to be joined by Jesse Campigotto, CBC, The Buzzer newsletter. Jesse, it must be a pretty busy time for you ramping up here to the Winter Olympics in Milan, just 1 week away.
Yeah, super busy time for us. We obviously at CBC Sports, we cover these sports year round. I know most people kind of only see these athletes, you know, once every 4 years, but they do compete on the various, you know, World Cup tours, Grand Prix tours, that sort of thing all the time. And over the last few months, there's obviously been a lot more interest in how Canadian athletes, international stars, all that are doing. So, yeah, it feels like the Olympics started a couple months ago for us in terms of busyness, but we're now 1 week away from the opening ceremony. There's preliminary competition starting on Wednesday. So that's even closer. So yeah, busy times and about to get even busier, but really excited for it. I think it's going to be a great Olympics for Canada.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to my dad who's been keeping me up to date. He's watching the World Cup or World Championships for biathlon, which is always an exciting event. So I'm looking at your newsletter, The Buzzer, you know, with a big Olympic preview. Seems like it's going to be a pretty strong Olympics for Canada, but not quite at Vancouver 2010 levels. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, for sure. So for my newsletter yesterday, I did some medal projections. So we have this company, the stats company we work with called Shoreview Sports Analytics. And they crunched all the numbers, you know, built a model, ran all the events 10,000 times, pretty complicated process. But in the end, it came out to Canada winning 27 medals, which is really good. Puts us basically right around where we've been for, say, the last 5 or 6 Winter Olympics. And then they have us winning 10 golds too, which is also really good. So you mentioned Vancouver. That's still the high water mark for Canadian Olympics. We won 14 golds there, which put us number 1 in the standings, because the way they do the official standings is they go by most gold medals. So 14 was the high in 2010, and that's still the only time Canada has ever finished first. But 10 medals is really good. If everyone wants to think back to 4 years ago, the Winter Olympics in Beijing, not a great Olympics, to be honest. I think a lot of people would like to forget that. It was fairly dull, but Canada won 4 gold medals there. So we still had a good total, but it was very heavy on bronze medals. So those got a little repetitive after a while. You definitely want to see those golds. So to go from 4 golds up to 10 in the projections, that's really promising and really bodes well for Canada.
When you look at Canada's best chance for golds, is it in short track speed skating? And could we see some breakout stars in this event, kind of like how we saw Summer McIntosh back at the Summer Olympics?
Yeah, I think short track's going to be great for Canada. It's something I've kind of been pushing in the newsletter for the last few months. And then it was great to see the medal projections actually backed up what I was thinking. So they projected Canada for 9 medals in short track. That's the most of any sport for Canada. Just to put that in perspective, there's 9 short track events in total. And they had us winning a medal in 8 of those 9 events. Obviously, there can be certain races where multiple athletes from the same country can win a medal. So that's how you get to 9. And then you mentioned Summer McIntosh. So if everyone's kind of wondering who the Summer McIntosh of these Olympics are, the one guy I've been kind of pushing the last few months is Will Danjanu. So this will be his first Olympics. He just missed the cut for the Canadian team 4 years ago when he was 20 years old. He's 24 now, and he's in his absolute prime. Since then, he's turned into the best short track skater in the entire world. He's won back-to-back World Cup overall titles, 4 gold medals at the World Championships, always seems to be at the top of the podium on the World Cup Tour. And they have him projected for 4 medals, which is actually the same number that Summer won at the Paris Olympics. They have him for a couple of gold medals in there, included in the 4. So not exactly a household name at the moment, but I feel like by the end of the games, Will Danjanu will be someone that Canadians are really going to get to know and really get to love.
One guy whose name comes up every 4 years at the Olympics, but has been dominating the World Cup scene for years, Mikhail Kingsbury, just named one of the flag bearers. Can we just mark him down for, for what, 2 medals here in this one? It seems to be, is what an incredible career, to wrap up what has been an incredible career for him.
Yeah, I think he's got a great shot at 2 medals. So he's the greatest mogul skier of all time. No one questions that. He just won his 100th World Cup event recently. He's won a gold at the Olympics, a couple silvers, tons of world championships. He's the best in the sport. Like you said, though, he has alluded to the fact that this will be his final Olympics. He's 33 years old. So it looks like he's on his way out. But he's got a chance for those 2 medals this time because they've added the dual moguls event this time. So for people who aren't familiar, moguls is the one where they have all those little bumps, skiers go down, they do all sorts of tricks. So usually in the regular moguls, you're just going down by yourself. In the dual, you're head to head with another racer. So that discipline, it's been around forever. It just was never part of the Olympics. It's on the program now for the first time. So that gives him a great shot at 2 medals. The only thing with Kingsbury at the moment is he's been dealing with a groin injury all season. Seems like he's sat out a lot of World Cup races. It seems like it's more of a maintenance thing. He doesn't seem too worried about it. But that I think will be in the back of our mind when we're watching him. But still a great contender for 2 medals and even 2 gold medals.
One event that Canada is traditionally very strong in but hasn't gone well at the Olympics for the last couple is curling. Is this going to be the year where Rachel Homan gets it done for the women and Brad Jacobs, a medal favorite for the men? And there's also mixed doubles curling as well.
Yeah, so obviously Canada is still the number 1 country in the world in terms of producing the most elite curlers. But we've really struggled at the Olympics recently. We won a couple gold medals in the 4-player events, so men's and women's, back in 2014. We swept those. That was the last time, though, that Canada has won a gold at the Olympics in the 4-player events. So we did win the mixed doubles gold in 2018. That was the first year they added that event to the program. But the men's and women's teams have really struggled. We only have actually 1 bronze medal total from the last 2 Olympics. So the thing is, the rest of the world has really caught up a lot to Canada. So we used to kind of just dominate the sport. Now, while we still have, in terms of depth, Canada is definitely still the number 1 country. At the top end, a lot of other countries have teams that are just as good as our top teams. So, the projections I thought were really good for Canada. I wasn't expecting them to come out that well. They had Rachel Homan winning the gold in the women's. They had Brad Jacobs taking the silver in the men's, and then a bronze in mixed doubles. So, that would be great. Would love to see it, but like I said, the competition's so tough now, and Homan's really struggled at the Olympics as well. So 2018, she was there in the women's event, didn't make the playoffs. 2022, she was there in mixed doubles. They put her with John Morris, who'd won gold in 2018 with a different partner. They didn't make the playoffs. So she's really struggled. So there's going to be that maybe mental aspect for her to overcome. But at this point, she's still the favorite. She's won the last 2 world championships. She's the skip to beat, but just a matter of actually her delivering and getting it done, sort of when like the bright lights are on at the Olympics.
Yeah, Rachel Homan's been so dominant with the Worlds and nationally with the Scotties. We'll see how it goes. That's something to watch for sure. Maybe the most popular sport that we all have our eyes on is hockey, but Canada's got some pretty tough competition in men's with Sweden and USA, and women's as well with their number one rival, USA. Seems like they'll come away with medals, but big question is what color are they going to be?
Yeah, it's a big question too, because let's be honest, gold is the only medal that anyone's going to be happy with in Canada in hockey in both sports, right? Silver or bronze in some other sports, that's a win for certain people. For Canadian hockey, that's a loss, just the way it is. There's a ton of pressure on them. So the men's team is definitely the favorite. The projections kind of back that up. If you check the betting markets, same thing. Everyone has Canada as the favorite. I agree with that. After the Four Nations face-off last year, they should be number one. They have the best team. The one thing that surprised me in the projections was I think everyone, including me, and I still think this is going to happen, everyone's expecting Canada and the U.S. to meet in the men's final. It's what everybody wants to see. Four Nations were great, those 2 games, the 3 fights in 9 seconds, all that stuff. What surprised me in the projections was they actually had Sweden slightly ahead of the United States as the number 2 team. And at first, I was a bit skeptical about it. But then I thought about it. I was looking back to the Four Nations. The tournament was a lot closer than everyone remembers, I think. Even Canada had to beat Finland in their last round robin game to advance to the final. So I guess, sort of the Cole's notes to that is the tournament's a lot tighter than I think maybe people are expecting. So it's certainly not a shoe-in to see Canada and the U.S. In that gold medal game. But Canada is the favorite, deserves to be the favorite. On the women's side, I don't think that's the case. And the projections back this up as well. It seems like the U.S. has overtaken Canada and is the clear favorite for the women's gold. So usually when these 2 teams square off in the final, and they're going to meet in the final, they're head and shoulders above the rest of the world. Whenever they meet, it's almost always decided by 1 goal, and it often goes into overtime or a shootout. It's basically a coin flip every time they play. That's been going on for years and years. However, this year, they have the rivalry series. So that's Canada versus the U.S. They play 4 games, 2 in Canada, 2 in the United States, and Canada got blown out in every single game. The scores were really lopsided. They lost all 4. So you can see now in the projections, betting markets as well, they have the U.S. as a favorite. And, it's going to come down to 1 game. That's the thing. So anyone can win that 1 game, but it really feels like the odds have tilted to the Americans' favor on the women's side.
We've talked about some of the major sports that everyone knows. I think at the Summer Olympics, everyone was captivated by some of those new sports like breakdancing. Do we have anything like that that could go viral or capture attention at the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, so maybe captivated in a bad way for the breaking. If I remember the one Australian lady, that was
yes, Reagan. How could we forget?
Reagan.
Olympic legend.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, there's I mentioned the duo moguls as an addition, but it's still basically the same sport. The one new sport that's being added this year is called ski mountaineering. So I don't know how exciting it's going to be. Canada doesn't have anyone in it, but basically the way it works is, picture a ski hill. So not like the crazy big ones you see in like a World Cup downhill or Olympic downhill, more like say a ski hill you might see if you were to go skiing. So what the athletes have to do is basically hike up the hill as fast as they can on foot and then ski down the hill. So that's the sport.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, as you can imagine, it's like a hardcore endurance sport. So these are basically like, it seems like everyone who's into the sport is, marathon runner. That might not even cut it. You might have to be like an ultra runner. It's very endurance weighted. So, I mean, let's be honest, endurance sports usually not the most exciting to watch. But if it's close, I could see if they got to the top of the hill, there's a couple athletes, they're coming down, and it's tight. It could be fun to watch. So give it a chance is what I'm saying.
Okay. Ski mountaineering. I'll have to tune in for that one. And I mentioned Mikhail Kingsbury as the male flag bearer, Marielle Thompson. Why was she the right selection to be the female flag bearer for the opening ceremonies?
Yeah, she was a great pick. I was really happy they picked her. So this will be her 4th Olympics, same as Kingsbury. They're also the same age. And I always like rewarding those veteran athletes with the flag bearer honor. But it's also great to get someone who you think is going to have a chance to win a medal at those games. And she definitely fits the bill. So she won Olympic gold in ski cross back in 2014, won a silver in 2022. 2018, she didn't medal, but made a really courageous comeback from a knee injury just to get to those games. And then in 2022, same thing. She had a season-ending knee injury, the late winter, sort of spring before the Olympics, came all the way back, made it back to the podium. So, great perseverance. That's a great story. Going into these Olympics, she's in the exact same boat again. So she had a season-ending knee injury in late February of last year, worked her way back, was kind of struggling on the World Cup tour this season leading up. I was starting to wonder about her medal chances. Can she still contend? Last week, she breaks through, gets on the podium with a bronze. And then just earlier today, she got another bronze. So back-to-back bronze for Thompson. I think you can say she's rounding into form, has a great shot at another medal. And who knows, maybe even a gold. It's a bit of a crazy sport. Anything can happen. So yeah, I think she was a great pick. And obviously Kingsbury's a great pick. I think they really nailed it with the flag bearers.
We've talked a lot about Canadian athletes, but there's always athletes from other countries that, captivate our attention. We just saw many at the Summer Olympics. Is there someone not Canadian that you've got your eye on to see how they're going to perform in Milan?
Yeah, there's a bunch. The one I'll mention right off the bat is Lindsey Vonn. So she's the American downhill and Super G superstar. She had a really bad knee condition 5-6 years ago, had to retire from the sport because she was in so much pain. She ended up having a knee replacement surgery and felt so good that she decided to try a comeback last season. Last season went okay for her. She looked like she was a viable sort of World Cup skier again. And then I'm not sure exactly what she did over the off season. She said she really hit the weight room hard, really hit the training hard, and she's been dominating this season. So she's won a medal in 7 out of her 8 races, and 2 wins in the downhill. So she became the oldest skier by far to ever win a World Cup alpine race. She's 41 years old, and was away from the sport for 5 seasons. So incredible story there. However, a bit of breaking news for you. This happened earlier today. Really bad news for her. She crashed at the last World Cup downhill before the Olympics. The women's downhill is 9 days away. She went down, went into that orange safety netting, made her way down to the hill really slow, down to the bottom of the hill really slowly, but she hurt her left knee. She said on Instagram she's still getting tests. She's going to see what happens. She said, my Olympic dream's not over, but it's unclear right now as we're speaking whether she'll be able to race or not. So obviously it would be terrible to lose her because she's probably the number one international athlete I was looking forward to seeing. So hopefully speedy recovery, and hopefully we see her back out there and see what she can do.
Yeah, I saw that was unfortunate. What a comeback it's been for her. And Jesse, as we wind down, any other Canadian stories that we should be watching for that we haven't mentioned in any other event? I was going to ask you about, we talk about Manitoba athletes for the Summer Olympics. The only ones are in hockey for Canada, but any other stories that, we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, I did my homework. I looked that up for you because I figured you might want to know. Yeah, there's only 4, and they're all in hockey. So, of course, you have Mark Stone and Travis Sanheim, the Philly defenseman on the men's team. And then you have Jocelyn Larocque is one of the women. So I believe she's won 2 Olympic golds. I think she's like 37, 38 years old. So not bad. Good Manitoba representation there for sure. As far as other Canadian stories, the one event, just because it's a really popular event, I know a lot of people will be interested in it, in figure skating. So Canada didn't win a figure skating medal at all in 2022. That was the first time that happened since 1980. Obviously, it's a marquee sport, so kind of hurts to miss the podium in that one. But we do have a couple contenders this time in the partner events. So we have a good pairs team, and then we have a good ice dance team as well. That's Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier. So they're one of these teams who can never seem to quite put it together at the Olympics, but they've won medals at 4 of the last 5 world championships. So we know they have the chops to contend for a medal, kind of just a matter of them putting it together. They're also saying they're probably going to retire at season's end too. So it would be great to see them go out with a medal and get Canada back on the podium in figure skating, because it's a big sport, and it's never great to not be in the medal mix there. So hopefully they can do it.
Yeah, so many great sports. I'm going to have to put together my power poll later on the show with Connor, but you mentioned figure skating, huge. Haven't even touched on snowboarding, half pipe, cross, so many great events. And Jesse, you do such a great job at the buzzer, letting everyone know, what's happening, what's to come. Where can people find your newsletter, The Buzzer, at CBC?
Yeah, so if you just Google The Buzzer CBC, the sign-up page will come up. It's completely free. All you have to do is enter your email address. You'll start getting it right away. There won't be one this weekend, but once we hit Monday, all the way through the closing ceremony on February 22nd, you'll get a newsletter in your inbox every single day, sort of in the evening. It'll have a recap of what happened that day, so you can catch up really quickly on what you may have missed. And then the big thing is it'll look ahead to the next day of competition. So I know a lot of people really get into the Olympics when they're on, but don't necessarily follow these sports, year round like I do. So what I'm able to do is kind of tell you exactly who to watch, when to watch, with exact times and everything. So I always get a lot of good feedback on it. It's a really nice, I think, sort of a TV guide, viewing guide for the Olympics. So yeah, The Buzzer CBC, get signed up, and you'll be getting all that stuff.
Yeah, I have the link in the description of this video or podcast. So if you want to keep updated on everything Olympics, The Buzzer, a must follow, as a CBC incredible coverage, whether on TV or on the app CBC Gem, where you can see every event. We're pretty lucky here in Canada for that. So Jesse, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. It's been great talking with you. Hopefully we can connect later on during the games.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Michael.
Don't forget, gang, right now is a great time to jump online or pop by Red River Co-op or London Drugs and grab your tickets for this St. Boniface Hospital Mega Million Choices Lottery. Of course, you can get them in person or order online at stbmegamillionchoices.ca, and you'll be in for everything. First deadline for the winter bonus is January 29th. The second deadline for the ultimate bonus is February the 20th. And of course, in addition to all the incredible early bird prizes with more than $500,000 in prize draws and winners, including the biggest ever bonus and the all-new World Cup experience prize package worth over $10,000 in Vancouver, you'll be in for one of the 6 grand prize options. 5 $1.5 million dream home packages in Winnipeg and Vancouver Island, or $1.25 million cash tax-free. How does that sound? It's all in support of the incredible work of the St. Boniface Hospital, both equipment and research, and makes such a big difference in our community. So pop by, get your tickets right now. Count yourself in. The earlier, the better, to be in for all the early draws and the biggest ever bonus. and maybe you can be Manitoba's next millionaire while supporting the St. Boniface Hospital. Again, online, get your tickets, stbmegamillionchoices.ca. And you can also order toll-free at 1-855-256-7203. Do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, Princess Auto is synonymous with Winnipeg, headquartered in the Peg, founded right here, and now serving Canadians coast to coast. And with 3 Manitoba locations, 2 in the city and 1 out in Brandon, where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So pop by and see him on Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or out in Brandon. And as always, you can shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. I know it's cold. I know we're in the middle of winter, but I do know some folks that are loving every minute of it. And that, of course, is our pals over at Chud's Power Sports in Gimli, Manitoba's power sports superstore for over 80 years, family owned, with the best staff in the business that have been there with decades. Now, they have it all at Chud's Power Sports. Of course, snowmobiles, golf courts, pontoons, farming equipment. But right now, it's all about the sleds and the trails. Snow day deals on right now from Polaris, up to $3,000 off select snowmobiles and up to $4,000 off Polaris select off-road vehicles as well, including financing as low as 0% APR. Check out their great new website at chudspowersports.com, which will tell you all about everything that they've got going on, from snowmobiles to timber sled snow bikes, or maybe you're already starting to think about spring and summer with RVs, or heck, we got ice fishing season coming up too with ice shacks. They have it all at Chud's Power Sports. And as I mentioned, with the best staff that'll help you get exactly what you need at amazing deals as well. While you're on the website, top right corner, you'll see the link for e-commerce store. That will take you to truenorthparts.ca, their sister site, with the best in parts for whatever you need. And of course, amazing deals on clearance gear and accessories. And it's all waiting for you up in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's leader for 80 years. See him in Gimli or shop online today at chudspowersports.com. And with the deep freeze here, it is maybe overdue for you to call up Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery to help you out, to make sure your car is getting from point A to point B. There's nobody that does it better than Manitoba Battery when it comes to customer service and price on batteries for literally everything. Now, we'll wait for the toys for the summer, because right now it's about making it through this Manitoba winter. And of course, if you do need a battery, or you're wondering whether it's going to make it through, you can pop by either of the locations on Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive for a free battery testing. And if you need a new one, you'll get one for the best price in town, shopping local and beating the pants off the big box stores with price and customer service as well. Manitoba Battery will also deliver batteries anywhere inside the perimeter. If you need it, pop by and see them in store today, or shop online and get your boost from Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery online at manitobabattery.com.
There's us, him and Jeff, about to go in the poker tournament in Costa Rica. Check out Hustler's socials for updates at Hustlerama. Well, he's in the middle of a road trip, looking pretty nice weather over there. Happy to be joined right now on the road by Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press, Kenny and Rennie. Ken, what's going on? How's the road trip so far? 2 games for the Winnipeg Jets, a 1-win and 1-loss record so far.
Remo, good afternoon. Good to be with you. Hey, Connor as well. So this is the first time the sun has really come out, to be honest, for the majority of the trip. Walked into a winter wonderland in New Jersey. They had 10 inches of snow the night before when rolling in on Monday, Remo, and It was in the high 50s and low 60s in Tampa, so not exactly balmy. But again, this is not a complaint. This is just the sun was out, so I thought I better find some palm trees to compete with the fellas in Costa Rica in terms of the backdrop. So we're doing our best here.
Look.
Well, you're missing out on some great weather here, Kenny. It's minus 18 and sunny. It's like super warm here too, comparatively to what it's been. So
I thought it was supposed to be. I thought it was supposed to be 0 one of these
coming
days.
Up.
Here.
Coming
Okay,
up.
good.
Coming up.
Good.
Just in time to get home.
Just in time to get home for it.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with maybe last night where it might have been warm outside, but the Jets offense dried up and was ice cold inside the arena against Tampa Bay. What did you front row seat in the press box there? What did you think of last night's game against the Lightning?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Jets had a steady first period, but after that, it was pretty clear which team had been 15-1-1 in the previous 17. Connor, that I saw a team that's clicking on all cylinders, despite having some key injuries. Spent a lot of room a lot of time in the room after the morning skate, talking to a number of different players, veterans, rookies, people who had been there for a while. Victor Hedman spoke also about the Olympics and the outdoor game, but I mean, it's just impressive. I said it a few times now, and I'm going to say it again. I mean, guys, like this is literally like Lou Brown in Major League. Like you're walking around the room. Yes, there are some stalls that with recognizable names, but there is a who are these guys element to the Lightning, but it hasn't prevented them from a meteoric rise to the top of the Eastern Conference. So I'm incredibly impressed. I've known this for a long time, having covered the American League for the better part of a decade. They really value their minor league program, and they often have prospects that get over-ripened and marinated, which may be news to some folks in our market, but they do things the right way. They bring their guys up. They've established a culture. They have great leadership. They have one of the best, if not the best coach in the NHL in John Cooper, and they have a buy-in that is, I'm not going to say second to none because Florida has won, the last 2 Stanley Cups and been to the final and then one before that, but it's incredible. 6 years in a row, the Eastern Conference has been represented by either Tampa Bay or Florida. And, again, we understand that palm trees are part of the attraction for free agents, but the ability to deal with injuries to Braden Point, one of their best forwards, to their captain, Victor Hedman, who has played 18 games this year, yet it hasn't impacted their standings at all. That's been really impressive to me, Connor, and it showed on the ice. I mean, I don't think there was certainly not a lack of effort for the Jets, but the speed game of the Lightning obviously gave them difficulty in all 3 zones. They were not able to generate much. There were a couple of, Morgan Barron had 2 great chances, one on a 2-on-1 in the third, one on that partial breakaway when he went to the backhand, and Vasi basically gave it the old Inspector Gadget leg kick out. But other than that, the Jets didn't generate a whole lot. Yes, they got the low to high goal from Kyle Connor after the good shot by Dylan Sandberg, and Elias Solomonson was outstanding in the game. 6 shots on goal, 10 shot attempts, but for top line was pretty quiet. Yes, I understand they got a goal, but they didn't generate a ton of zone time like we saw in the game against New Jersey. And, I thought that the Lightning were, the game was really never in doubt after, the early goal in the second period, even after the Jets, made it a 1-goal game for just under 3 minutes. The Lightning were, I wouldn't say they were on cruise control, but I don't think they were ever really challenged in that game, to be honest. After the first period, I mean.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets, I mentioned this off the top, 1-18-2 when trailing
Crazy
after
stat.
2 periods. Not a lot of pushback there in the third, and you mentioned that to Scott Arneal. I mean, where's his head at right now? Because it seemed like on Saturday after Detroit, I mean, he came out with fire. He was angry, and I thought yesterday his message was kind of the same but delivered differently, saying that they're not willing to go into the hard areas.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was just part of the direct question that I asked about the, low to high and not being able to generate more. There was definitely frustration. I think it was less fiery, but again, I think as you mentioned, Remo, it was a stern message. This wasn't as much of a direct attack as, when you call your team soft, it's about the toughest criticism that a team can receive. But yeah, I mean, I just think that the Jets weren't able to generate much. I mean, you can't play on the perimeter against a team that you're not as fast as, right? So that means you have to go, put the work boots on and get greasy and get to the net and get tips, get screens, all of those things. And, the Jets scored a bunch of 4 goals, particularly Connor off the rush, on Tuesday, but there were, I don't remember many rush chances if there were any. So when you're not getting rush chances off of mistakes, you need to create by getting to the net, getting some cycles going. And the Jets just did not have any cohesion or, in their attack, I didn't think yesterday. And again, I don't think it has anything to do with the line blender, the lines. It's just they were, kind of outworked and out-hustled and outskilled in the game itself, it seemed like to me anyway.
Ken, one of the bright spots, I think, for the Winnipeg Jets over the past number of weeks, and I know you and Rennie talked about this last night on your post game, has been Elias Salomonsson. His instincts, his jumping into the plays, looking more and more comfortable since the second recall. What have you liked more this time around from Elias Salomonsson as opposed to the first time around, which I think we could all see was under some pretty high water in those tough matchups to start?
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely under duress, which again, like I said, the benefit for me having covered the American League for a long time is that it's not a surprise when even a top level prospect goes up. And I wouldn't say that Salomonsson struggled, because there were a lot of times where he showed the elements that he's showing again now. But, he was on the ice for, a bunch of 5-on-5 goals against. And, to me, the game is just slowed down for him. Mm-hmm. It was a little bit hair on fire in the first 4 games, I think, for me. Right now, he is showing off his skating ability. His lateral movement is something that Scott Arneal touched on in the morning. Dylan Samberg talked about the mentorship role, but I mean, that pairing has been, for me, they've been, borderline exceptional in this stretch of games. Now 6 games since the latest recall. I don't think that Solomon, again, I don't want this to sound like the Ville Heinola debate all over again, but to me, this is what the Jets were hoping for from Heinola. Now he's come up and shown them that, I'm not going to say he wouldn't have anything to learn at the American League level, but to me right now, Solomonsson's best learning capabilities will come at the NHL level, where he is pushed by playing against guys like Kucherov, and Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel, rather than, playing 22 minutes in the minors, which again, not to get out the receipt machine here, but this is what I explained. I think Connor, you and I talked about this when he got sent down. It wasn't a matter of not being able to play 12 minutes on the third pairing. It was the benefits of him being able to go to the Moose and play 22 to 24 minutes, be used in all situations. And then now when the Neil Pionk injury happens, you're feeling way more comfortable with your puck touches. I think his reads have been a lot better. Yeah, there were some good reads in that first stint again, don't get me wrong, but now it seems like he's making the right read almost all the time. And I think now you're starting to see the chemistry with Dylan Samberg, who, is more of a stay-at-home guy, but he still has the mobility. So I think you've seen now where Solomonsson's getting more activated. Now Samberg knows when he has to sit back a little bit, and sometimes both of them can go, but then you better be sure that your third forward is up in the zone. But to me, he's doing a great job of getting his shots through. And yesterday had a ton of grade A looks for me, Connor. I thought he was very involved, but not in the dangerous or reckless kind of way or manner. He knows when to go, and when he goes, he's he's going at the right time for me. So I think that his game has grown by leaps and bounds. And again, spoke with Luke Shen about both the defensemen on that second pairing, and he's really impressed by both of the guys and how they're handling the responsibility. A, for Samberg playing the mentorship role, and B, Solomonson in terms of the growth in his game and his ability to adapt now and show that he can process the game at a high level, along with use his skill set to be a really effective and efficient player.
Ken, you're in Florida, took in Winnipeg Jets practice today. Any details you'd like to share from today? I saw the lines, a bit of a shakeup there.
Yeah, I asked Scott Arneal about it during his availability, and I think he mentioned that it's more to do with the matchups that he's anticipating from Paul Maurice and company on Saturday. Now, to me, I think he means, reading between the lines or trying to find the tea leaves here. I think Lowry is up on that line because he's expecting Anton Lundell to play against Scheifele, and he's expecting Sam Bennett to be used against the Lowry line. So you want to have that, strong kind of ox-like behavior down the middle to sort of counterbalance the physical nature of Sam Bennett. I think that's my interpretation anyway. And I think maybe he's hoping that maybe in that third line role, Taves in that line with Nemestikov and Niederreiter might be able to find some offense in the, if they're playing against the third and fourth lines of the Florida Panthers here. So, a little bit surprised. I mean, we know that Scott Arneal always talks about the heaviness of the game. So to me, Tanner Pearson's done a really nice job with the physical style and brand of hockey on the fourth line. And we've talked about it before. He's generated 7 even strength goals this year in mostly fourth line minutes. So I'm a little bit surprised that this is the game, or it looks like the game that Gus Nyquist will draw back into the lineup. But again, the Jets are, we just talked about, Connor, lack of offense. Now, I understand that it's been a long time since Nyquist has scored, but he has generated some offensive chances, I think, dating back to the December 31st game against the Detroit Red Wings. So I think not necessarily looking to catch lightning in a bottle, but based on how well Barron has been playing and what Cole Koepke has been able to do on the forecheck and generating some offense of his own, still 5 goals in 20 games. It's pretty good pace for a fourth line guy, right? So I think maybe they're hoping that kind of 2 worker bees with Nyquist might be able to get him going, even though most people will say, oh, well, why does a skilled player, how is that going to work with two hardworking guys with speed? To me, I think it could help generate some chaos off the forecheck, and that's where Nyquist could sort of feast on some maybe pucks that pop out from some down low plays and stuff like that. But again, he's also going to go on to the second power play unit, I would imagine. So a little surprised, but not overly dramatic. I mean, this is a team that should be trying all kinds of things. We're at in the same points.
Sorry, Ken, we just lost you for a second there.
Okay, sorry,
look back. With the palm trees, but it looks like you're back now.
A deep freeze. Sorry about that.
There we go. I love the thought of the Gustav Nyquist showcase game against the Florida Panthers ahead of the trade deadline.
He makes too much money for the Panthers, Connor.
True. Well, hey, Barkov's not under their cap, or maybe he will be in the playoffs. We'll see.
He's been skating. He's been skating.
Yeah.
I think that's a good sign for them. But it sounded like Brad Marchand was injured, I think, right? So we'll have to see what the update. I didn't see the updates from their practice today, so I was driving in from Fort Myers.
Yeah. Before we get to the trade deadline, I want to ask another question on the lines that we were just showing there before. Yep. I think a lot of fans or some fans want to see Connor and Scheifele play apart from one another. And when you look at the percentages around, you look at Money Puck or Dom's model at The Athletic, the percentage chance of the Winnipeg Jets making the playoffs continues to dwindle. I think Money Puck has them down at 3.7% today.
Right.
What do you think the chances are we see Connor and Scheifele split up playing apart from one another in the final however many games of the season there are here? And are you kind of surprised that it isn't happening right now, or where are you at on that?
Yeah, honestly, not that surprised, and not for the reasons most people are kind of leading into, Connor. I think that the biggest issue the Jets have is their lack of consistent production. Now, I'm totally understanding and realize the concept of 2 guys play together, but to me, it's not a guarantee that playing apart would generate as much or more offense. And I think that, for a team that's lacked a lot of chemistry among their forward groupings, I don't know that breaking up the 2 guys with probably the best chemistry, at least offensive chemistry, is necessarily the answer. And I think the other issue that the Jets are having is that they haven't had enough strong play from down the middle on lines 2 through 4 to suggest that Kyle could easily drive his own line. Like, I understand the premise just fine, but which center is going to be doing that driving, Connor? I mean, Morgan Barron, he's the guy who skates the best out of the 3, but he doesn't necessarily have the same top 6 instincts that maybe a Jonathan Taves has, even though he doesn't have the same wheels, right? So I'm totally fine with the concept, and we've seen evidence of this. We've talked about it before. Pierre-Luc Dubois and Cole Perfetti and Kyle Connor, they put together some pretty good minutes over parts of 2 seasons together. So I understand that the Perfetti angle with Kyle Connor may work again, but Connor, if they're going to break them up, I actually would like to see what Cole Perfetti might be able to do with Mark Scheifele. So, and I would even have time for trying those 3 together because that's one thing they haven't tried with the breakups. It's been mostly Iafallo in that role, right? So I think Tanner Pearson might have got a couple periods out of it. But again, to me, I totally understand why, and it's the defensive element that people are most frustrated by. I mean, we're just a year removed from that line absolutely dusting their competition at 5-on-5, right? After a terrible start where we had these same things be broken up because they can't handle the defensive responsibilities. But for me, I think that maybe once the Jets are closer to being officially eliminated, maybe you try that at that point. But until, I like the way Morgan Barron's playing, but until somebody like plants the pole in the ground and says, I'm an option to play with Kyle Connor, I think they're going to stick with kind of what has been their bread and butter here. And, Gabe Vilardi had a great game the other day, one blended shift goal, one, great goal off the rush, but it was that line was not at its best. And that's why they were broken up again. Right. So who would you like to see him play with? I mean, I
recognize that it's not the same Adam Lowry as it was in Game 7 against the Blues, but Connor Lowry Iafallo won the Jets that game against the Blues. Like, they were dynamite, right? And right. I don't know. I think Kyle Connor is a guy that can drive his own line and maybe even pick up an Adam Lowry or pick up a Cole Perfetti at this time of year. And I get it. I mean, it's the comfortability factor. It's Connor and Scheifele together, and Arneal likes the comfortability and their ability to generate and all of those things, but it just continues to not work. And they even put the top line back together. Also
yeah.
Sorry, you're cutting out there. Go ahead.
No, the productivity is the other part of it, right? But yeah, I mean, you're right. They put them back together, right, and then they pretty much got nothing going in that game. So it's right. A good debate, and I'm here for it.
Totally.
And also Adam Lowry. If Adam Lowry was at Game 7 levels too, I think his game is trending in the right direction. But we're not seeing peak Adam Lowry, which is
sure
probably also part of the reason that it hasn't happened yet. Like, I understand, much to the consternation of many. But again, there's the balance has been tough to find. Iafallo gives that defensive responsibility when he's up there, but he also, I'm not saying he's not a skilled player. This guy's a consistent, 12 to 17 goal guy, but he doesn't quite have the same, plays are not happening at the same rate as they are when Vilardi's there, but they're also not giving up as much at times. But, then you have a rare turnover from Iafallo the other day that leads directly to a goal. And, again, the Jets just can't afford to have many mistakes. And the mistakes that they've been making seem to be ending up in the back of their net with quite a bit of regularity, right? So it's super interesting. And again, if the Jets had, a centerman that was ready to pop into the lineup and play with Kyle Connor, that would also, like we're talking about, if there's a Dominic James, for example, if there's a guy like that that's buzzing like he was last night, if Brad Lambert was playing that type of game, or Braden Yager, I mean, maybe the discussion is different there too, which I think it just reinforces, where we're going next. I mean, the need for the Jets to address that need again. And again, I'm not here saying they haven't done it since Brian Little, because those people are ignoring, 260 plus seasons for Pierre-Luc Dubois, where his production was well within a second line center's production. But because it didn't work out, and because people think mostly about that first year after the trade for Laine when he wasn't as productive, they think it's been this long abyss. But I mean, between Paul Stastny and Pierre-Luc Dubois, they've done a pretty good job of covering over that spot. But they're back in a situation where they're not going to have a 50 to 60 point guy in that role, and that's a problem. I mean, even when you're playing against teams where Dominic James is playing the second line center role instead of Braden Point, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Ken, we got, some people say 2 trade deadlines here. We got the Olympic one, next week, and then the one just after March when they return. What's your gauge on the Winnipeg Jets activity, towards the deadline? We just played this clip of Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts saying not much. He just said Winnipeg and Detroit, I'm hearing, and then went, that was about it.
Well, I may or may not have checked in with Elliot today, and we bounced some ideas around. But they would make sense as a potential dance partner on a couple of fronts here, guys. So we know that Detroit would probably like to add defensive depth, especially with Simon Edvinsson's injury. We don't know how long term, or if it's going to be long term. So coming out of the break, we'll have to monitor that situation. Jacob Bernard Docker is doing a nice job. But I mean, if Detroit has designs on going on a long run, you're not probably rolling with Bernard Docker as your first pairing guy, right? So I think I see he and Hamonic handling the third pairing minutes on the right side. But I'd be curious to see, their level of interest on guys like Logan Stanley or Luke Shen. When it comes to forwards, I know that, and I'm writing about him today and had a really good chat with Vlad Namestnikov, but to me, Namestnikov is the type of guy who could be very effective on a playoff team on a fourth line role. We know that Detroit values the Jets that are in their lineup: Andrew Kopp, Ben Sherratt, and Mason Appleton. I think that Namestnikov would be a really good fit in their kind of bottom six area where he could play center or a wing depending on the scenarios. But again, the other thing that I kind of was bouncing around in my head, I seem to recall a lot of Cole Perfetti talk around the Red Wings. I'm not saying that they're calling about him now, but to me, he seems like the kind of Steve Yzerman type of player. But just wrapping it up on Namestnikov, Steve Yzerman was the GM when Namestnikov was in Tampa. So again, you're always looking for connect the dots types of scenarios. So again, I don't think anything is imminent here, but it wouldn't surprise me that Yzerman would have some interest in some of those guys. I don't think it would be a core piece type of deal, or even the secondary core. But again, maybe something for some futures. But we'll see how things kind of pan out on that front. But again, you should be talking to as many general managers as possible. We've talked about this a lot, Connor. The Jets are a team that needs to recoup some draft capital, and even probably not even more so, but to augment that, they should be looking at adding almost NHL ready players, whether those are, guys from the Grand Rapids Griffins. Now, again, Grand Rapids just rolled through Winnipeg, so the Jets would have had an opportunity to scout that next wave of player. They also have some veterans in their lineup. I don't think that's the kind of thing we would be looking at. We'd be looking at, that next wave of players that would be knocking on the door of being NHL guys, draft picks and things like that. So, a lot of times dance partners make sense, but it still doesn't mean you're getting that person's phone number or coming through with the asset you are looking for.
For sure. And I'm glad you brought up Vlad Namestnikov, because he spent a lot of time talking about the pending UFAs. Kenny, of course, Logan Stanley, Jonathan Taves. But I asked this question to Brandon Ruricki yesterday, and I want to ask it to you. Of the forwards, the three forwards that have one extra year on their deal, being Nino Niederreiter, Morgan Barron, and Vlad Namestnikov, who would you say is the most likely to be moved by the Winnipeg Jets at this trade deadline out of those three?
Well, I'd say, again, I'm not saying that it's the Jets are looking to move Namestnikov, but I would say that he's easier to move because his contract is lower than Niederreiter's, right? So say those guys I think are the same age. One's making 4, one's making 3 and change. Barron would be the biggest asset and probably generating the most interest, Connor. But I would say the Jets he would be the least likely to be moved, because the Jets, it's more likely that they want to sign him to a long-term deal based on what they've seen. So the guy that would bring the biggest asset package back would be Barron, but he's also the guy I think that they would like to have around the longest, given A, his age, and B, his upside. So I've said this before. Barron is a guy to me that Rick Bowness said it, and I was thinking it at the time. I think that Morgan Barron can still be a 13 to 16 kind of goal guy. I think of the production Brandon Tanev had in his year when he cashed in. Morgan plays a power forward game. I think he's a little bit more of a natural scorer maybe than Tanev. Obviously, they play different games in terms of just kind of Tanev has that hair on fire style, but both are involved physically. Both are great skaters, and both contribute to the penalty kill. But to me, I think that Barron has a little bit more upside on the offensive part of his game. So. Anyways, and I'm also another one that's going to be fascinating to me, Connor. Nino Niederreiter, kind of on the precipice of 500. He's a guy who's pretty jazzed about his chance to go to the Olympics. I spoke with JJ Moser of the Lightning. He's also going to be on Team Switzerland. He had so many great things to say. Niederreiter is a leader and often the captain of that national team program. So I kind of wonder if he comes back rejuvenated from that process, because again, we know that it has not been a typical Nino Niederreiter season. Some people are worried about burnout from the Olympics, but to me, an experience like he's about to have, it might actually have him come back sharper, and I'm not going to say more motivated, but just getting that juice from being in that environment that might get him back to playing like the Nino Niederreiter that was part of, one of, if not the best third lines in hockey last year. So, and again, the Jets haven't had that this year. We know that for various reasons, injury related and otherwise, but if he can come back from the Olympics, now again, it would not only enhance his trade value, it would also enhance, the Jets' ability to, roll out a third line and use it in a shutdown scenario like they did so often last year. So anyways, not trying to be on the fence here, but I'm just trying to lay out all the scenarios as best that I can. And again, Nemestikov's got even with 1 goal in 41, Connor, he's got a long track record of being a double-digit guy, and the ability as a fourth line player or a third line player to be effective at center and on the wing and to be on the penalty kill and on the second power play unit. It's a pretty rare quality, even at a time when things are obviously not going as well as he would expect of himself or the Jets would expect of him.
Well, Ken, it's been great talking with you and looking at your wonderful background where you're outside in a T-shirt. We can only dream here to be outside in a T-shirt for such an extended period of time, as my car was showing minus 27 this morning. So enjoy it, Ken. Enjoy your trip to Florida. I don't know if you're going to be taking in Gasparilla Festival, but it sounds like you're making your way. No, you're making your way down to Fort Lauderdale, wherever the Sunrise, wherever the Panthers.
Yeah, we're in Sunrise now. Yeah, so that was that worst part about Gasparilla was the hotel prices in Tampa, guys. I didn't even end up staying in Tampa. It was ridiculous. But anyways, great to be with you. Have a great weekend, and should be I guess we still got another week to talk about the Super Bowl. You'll take care of that. Thanks, gents. Have a good weekend here. Cheers.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you. There he is. Ken Wiebe, Winnipeg Free Press, Wiebe's World on X. Also, half of Kenny and Rennie right here on YouTube. Ken's Twitter link in the description. Check out the Free Press and shout out to them for sending Mike and Ken on the road all season. Yes, Ken mentioned the Super Bowl. It is that week off, but plenty of NFL topics to discuss and whatever else is in his notebook with Lee Hacksaw Hamilton coming up right after this.
Every Winnipeg Jets game, the lines are presented by our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, your local leader for over 40 years for the best in plumbing services as well as heating and electrical. Your one-stop shop with over 40 years of experience and, of course, the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. Not only are they the leaders in residential and commercial services, but much like the Captain Adam Lowry, they have got your back covered 24/7, 365 with 24/7 emergency services. Mark the number down, 204-500-2001. When you need them, Clean Line is there. Your local leaders for plumbing, heating, and electrical. Check them out online at cleanline.ca. Great opportunity with all these games coming up. Lots of hockey as we push to the Olympic break and the Olympics just around the corner to get together with your gang at your local Boston Pizza for the big game. Enjoy ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. And if it is a little too cold outside for you to make it out, you can always get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. And as we count down to the Olympics, I know many of you are going to want to get geared up in red and white to support Team Canada at the Olympic Games. And you know where to do that. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway, Winnipeg's ultimate sports superstore with the best in fan gear for both Team Canada merch as we get ready for Italy in the Olympic Games, as well as the Jets and the National Hockey League, Jays and Major League Baseball, all your favorite NFL teams, Raptors, NBA, Pro Soccer, and more. While you're there, check out their incredible hockey department, the best in town with amazing deals on sticks, skates, and equipment. And if you're planning a snowboard trip, Royal's been the leader in snowboards for 25 years. Check out the snowboard department today. It has been busy coming out of the holidays. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, just before we get to our next segment, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
2. There's Huss. He's taking part in the Costa Rica Poker Open. He just posted a nice picture with Jeff Hamilton and the contest winner. So we'll hear from him next week. I'm sure he's having a great time. Wish him a lot of luck. But it's time to dive in to the notebook. His NFL notebook. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. How's it going here? I thought this was Super Bowl bye week. Seems like we got more news than ever.
Yeah, Mikey, nice to be with you, and hello to everybody in the Great White North. I know it's really cold. Listen, before we go into the notebook, I move that we fine Ken Wiebe a certain amount of money. How dare he show up on a Winnipeg podcast in a T-shirt with palm trees in the background and girls in bathing suits and talk to you in the Great White North? Do I have a second of my motion?
Yes, minus 18 outside feels like minus 27 Celsius, and Ken is outside in his golf shirt with palm trees in the background, rubbing it in our face. How dare he? I appreciate Ken coming on. Just trying to think warm thoughts here. And yes, 0 Fahrenheit feels like minus 17 for all of our American listeners.
Okay, yeah, NFL Notebook, unbelievable amount of stuff swirling around the league, not related to the New England Patriots Seattle Seahawks game next Sunday. So we'll just kind of run around the roadmap. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I think the one that has everyone up in arms is Bill Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame reports. Is this some kind of concerted effort led by Bill Polian to make him wait for Deflategate and Spygate?
Nah, I don't think so. Bill Polian and Robert Kraft have both said they voted for him, for Belichick, on the ballot. But there are at least 11 guys, if not more, that did not vote for Belichick. There's a total of 50 that take part. Only 2 guys have come public and said why they voted not to have Belichick in. One said it's because there's so many great players that are backed up in the line that have yet to get voted in. And Belichick, this was the first time, and he'll eventually get in. The other one said, I held it against him, a columnist from Indianapolis, because of Spygate and Deflategate. So I wrote a big column on my website this week about it. If you just go to the website, you'll be able to find my one man's opinion column. I think part of it is probably personal, because in the history of that guy, separate the brilliance of football, but in the history of that guy, he was condescending. He was very hard to deal with, if not impossible to deal with. He was a bully. I think he offended a lot of people outside this inner circle of New England Patriot football. Now, maybe that's his right to conduct his business and his relationships the way he did. So I think some of this has got to have some personal thing in it. I think the other thing is I do believe Spygate and to a minor degree Deflategate probably carries something in this equation. And I tried to think about this yesterday. I talked about it on my podcast here in San Diego. Which is more egregious? Belichick, Spygate, they had $750,000 in fines and lost the number 1 draft pick because of that. So which is more egregious? Belichick and Spygate, Pete Rose betting on baseball, or all things Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, steroids, etc. So think about that. Which is the more of the worst mortal sins there? But I think Spygate probably held against him. So it's a real mixed bag. He will get in. He deserves to get in. The reaction from NFL players, other NFL coaches, Hall of Famers, has just been pro-Belichick, lock, step, and barrel. So he will get in, but it was kind of stunning. The other factor is who leaked this. This is a private vote. And nobody's supposed to have any comment until the vote is released next Saturday as to who got in, did not get in. You're not supposed to tip your hand. Did Belichick and the hoodie and hot pants, his babe, who's a PR phenom, did she leak that? Hey, connect the dots on that one too. So it's really, Mike, it's a really intriguing story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he did anything that was technically against the rules. At the time, I read a report that Roger Goodell called Mike Shanahan to tell him, and Shanahan goes, I wish I thought of that, videotaping practices. Everyone's trying to steal everyone's signals, and he found a way to do that, and it wasn't technically against the rules. And who are these gatekeepers to decide that the greatest coach in NFL history doesn't get into the Hall of Fame on his first ballot? We'll see how this one plays out as the week goes on. We've had a lot of front office news breaking today. The Minnesota Vikings firing their GM. Got to be real tough for that organization to let Sam Darnold go, have the season that they did with J.J. McCarthy, and then see Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl playing very well in the NFC Championship and leading the Seahawks. Was that what ultimately led to the firing?
I think there's a real deep division within that front office. Kwesi Mensah was hired, and then Kevin O'Connell was hired. Mensah had total control over the roster. And if you track back over just the last couple of years there in Minnesota, they've made a lot of mistakes in player personnel. A chunk of them have to do with quarterbacks, whether it was the mishandling of the Darnold contract negotiations or the delay as to what we should decide. The inability to keep Daniel Jones when they said they wanted to offer him a contract, and yet they let him go to Indianapolis. Prior to that, the whole Kirk Cousins contract situation, and prior to that, Carson Wentz. And Mensah's drafts have not been all that great. And again, all the decision-making power was on his desk. Kevin O'Connell had none. I've been told now that in a restructure, the new general manager will come in and have some input, but Kevin O'Connell will have equal input to the Wolf family, Ziggy Wolf, who is the lead owner. So I think this is just an array of bad personnel decisions, and maybe the decision, we got a pretty good head coach. We should give that head coach more control over player personnel acquisitions and the coaching of the guys on his roster.
It's the off week, and rules are being discussed. More replay possibly coming. They're discussing non-calls that are currently not reviewable, like penalties like face mask, which we saw last week missed, unnecessary roughness, roughing the passer, and hip drop tackles could be subject to review. Where are we at on some of these possible changes?
Competition committee is going to meet in kind of an emergency session, and I think they're going to move on this. We have the technology to get all the calls right. I know that you don't want the game interrupted time and time and time again for instant replays, but there is a way to fast forward evaluation upstairs or in New York in the headquarters. The league has used replay in the last 5 years to go down to the official and tell them, pick up that flag. That was not a penalty. But they've refrained from imposing a rule where we're going to look at replay and we're going to ask you to throw a flag if you missed a call. They've never done that. They are now, Mike, contemplating doing that. And I say right on. It's such a fast-paced, action-packed game. Guys get their hands in the face mask accidentally, but a penalty is a penalty. But sometimes they don't see it. So now you got the technology that can catch it. And when you see the really egregious non-calls and accidental face mask, it merits a flag. So now they are going to look at helmet hits, intent, leading with the crown of the helmet, face masks, body blows away from the football, an unnecessary roughness. There's a degree of intimidation that still goes on in this game. And I think by opening day next year, we're going to probably have expansive replay, throw the flag replay. I think that's the way it's probably going to be titled. It has to. You got the technology. Accidents happen, but a flag is a flag, and it should be thrown. And if you need replay to throw the flag, use it.
Curious to see how that plays out here, if there are some delays, but getting the calls right, certainly priority. A lot of coaching vacancies being filled this offseason. The Cleveland Browns found their man in Todd Monken. What do you think of that hire in Cleveland?
Let me just go through the roadmap for you here, Mike. Cleveland got Todd Monken. He's really built a pretty good resume for himself, first as a passing game coordinator, quarterback coach, then the offensive coordinator, Baltimore Ravens. So you got yourself a head coach, but it came at a price. They've just lost their very popular defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, who had 2 different meetings with the leadership group there and thought he was going to be the guy at the last minute. Monken shows up, and they give him the job after 1 interview. So Schwartz, he said goodbye. Within an hour of the naming of Monken, Jim Schwartz, who's a pretty popular guy in that front office and in that locker room, went office to office, shook hands, and said goodbye to everybody. And he's exiting. Rumor is he may wind up in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, which would be a good acquisition. So Monken goes into Cleveland. That's great, but he's still got a quarterback issue. He's still got the number 31 or 32 passing game and a quarterback in total yardage offense. He's still got the Deshaun Watson problem. He's still got to unearth whether or not Shedeur Sanders is the right guy. And he's still got to find an offensive line because they are a mess. So new head coach, lose the coordinator, which is a tough blow, and now you got to go fix all the other components there. Raiders don't have a head coach. Get this, Mike, they have interviewed 17 guys in 2 weeks. They still don't have a head coach, and guys are dropping out. One of the guys they wanted, I think was going to be a finalist, was Davis Webb, who was a passing game coordinator for Sean Payton in Denver, and he just backed out. I think there's a consensus. Do we really want to work for these people? Even though Tom Brady might be the point man, look at Raider history going back to the early 2000s. Do we really want to work there? And the roster's terrible. Now, granted, they got cap space and all that, but so I don't know. It's a really good place to work. If Clint Kubiak turns them down, and again, they can't make a move on him until after the Super Bowl. They are interviewing him for dinner tonight and tomorrow morning. If he turns them down, I don't know where they're going to go for a head coach because they've lost so many guys. And Davis Webb is out of the mix. And Davis Webb, I think, is going back to Denver to work for Sean Payton. The other one is Arizona. They don't have a head coach. And, historically, they've made so many mistakes. And I think the burning question is, anybody want to work for Michael Bidwell? That's such a ragtag organization. And they got a quarterback problem, too. And they're interviewing defensive guys, and they got a quarterback problem. So Arizona is misfits. One of the real interesting storylines is, guess who made phone calls? Tampa Bay called Sean McDermott about coming in as a consultant right after he was axed in Buffalo, and he elected to step away. I kind of get the sense he did not want to go into an uncomfortable situation, because the minute you hire Sean McDermott as an outside consultant, it's like you're looking at him to be the heir apparent. If this doesn't work for Todd Bowles, he has another crummy year, because this past year was a real big disappointment. I just don't think McDermott wanted to put himself in that environment that people were looking at him as backstabbing Todd Bowles. The other one that made a phone call was the Jets. The Jets called John Gruden. Would you like to come in as assistant head coach and offensive coordinator? And that's a real unstable situation. And Aaron Glenn, been on the job 1 year. Aaron Glenn just fired 7 assistants, been there less than 11 months. So that's a fiasco in itself. Gruden said, no, I'm going to stay on TV and podcast and everything else I'm doing. I don't want to coach for the Jets. Very emotional press conference in Pittsburgh, the hiring of Mike McCarthy. A little bit of a surprise hire. Last Friday when I was with you and Hustler, it looked like they were going to make a move on Nate Schillhouse, the passing game coordinator of the Rams. But then they brought McCarthy in and he blew him away. But you have to connect the dots. Mike McCarthy, great career, Green Bay, very good job, I thought, in Dallas. He's a Western Pennsylvania guy. He's from Greenfield, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh. That's where Art Rooney was born 135 years ago. And he's had a great affinity for Steeler football. In the press conference, he started to cry. He got all choked up. He was very emotional. He talked about the legacy of the family and what the family means to the city of Pittsburgh, and how Pittsburgh fans are hardwired into Steeler football. It was really, really kind of cool. Now, he's got to solve the quarterback situation there. He's got to solve the lack of game-breaking wide receivers there. So it'll be a very interesting offseason there. The Chargers finally got their offensive coordinator. And I've been through a lot of press conferences and Zoom calls with guys who just got hired, and everything's great, and I love this, and we're going to do that. I've never been through a press conference like I was with Mike McDaniel, the ex-Miami head coach who just got hired to work for Jim Harbaugh. He hit all the hot-button adjectives about all these trendy words, and he backs it all up because he put all the stuff in place his first 2 years in Miami with Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, they sent all kinds of passing offers. And he talked about how he was going to take his skill set and wrap it around the quarterback, Justin Herbert, and we're going to change this offense. We're going to throw the hell out of the ball. And it's going to take no prisoners offense, and we're going to target the defense and screw them. It was really a fun press conference. He's kind of unique. He's a Yale guy. He's kind of a Yale nerd. So I thought that it was really fun to listen to Daniel, because he backed it up. What he did in years 1, 2, Miami were great. Years 3 and 4 didn't work out because Tagovailoa kept getting hurt. Eagles, please explain to me why they're not playing football this coming weekend. Please explain to me how Nick Sirianni keeps his job. He's gone through 5 offensive coordinators in 5 years, and they got to figure that offense out. Despite all that skill talent, they just have not hit on the right guy or the right set of circumstances. And then in Denver, 48 hours after they got taken out in the playoffs, Sean Payton fires his top 3 offensive assistants, including offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi, quarterback coach, wide receiver coach, running back coach. Wow. But I think that was just a case of your skill guys did not grow as the season wore on. I mean, granted, Bo Nix had a great season, but they did not run the football consistently. The wide receivers couldn't get off press coverage and kind of disappeared for games on end. So a lot of changes, despite the great season they had in Denver, as disappointing as the ending was in the playoffs with Bo Nix getting hurt. Peyton didn't like what he saw in terms of progress growing the product. So there's going to be a complete overhaul of personnel on the offensive coaching staff there in Denver. So Mike, you hit it right on the nail. And we don't have a game this weekend, but we got a lot of stories to talk about around the league.
A lot of stories. Can't wait for it all to kick off next week. Media Day. You know, it's going to be crazy with everyone asking the questions and leading up to the big game at Levi Stadium. So, Lee, it's been great talking with you. Have a great sports weekend.
I just think Wiebe needs to buy everybody in this podcast a couple of rounds in 1919. How dare he show up with palm trees and a T-shirt when it's 27 below in Winnipeg. Have yourself a great sports weekend. Thanks, Mikey. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you. There he is, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Check out his website. You can be the smartest man at Portage in Maine, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. He's got the newsletter. Top right, you can join his insider group and get updated from Saw. He's watching everything. He told me he was up super late watching Australian Open. Time to bring back into the fold Connor Hrabchak, sitting there silently grabbing a drink of water. Connor, you know, one thing we didn't touch on, actually, is before we get into the cool bet lines here, you know, the CFL offseason, we talked a lot about Tim White being signed by the Bombers. How about the Edmonton Elks announcing today, releasing quarterback Trey Ford? I wonder what the future holds for him in the CFL. Oh.
There we go. Yeah, I do wonder, because going into last year with the Edmonton Elks, I mean, the biggest question was they were handing over the keys to Trey Ford, right? And by week 5 or 6 or whatever it was, Cody Fajardo was the starter. And now Cody Fajardo is the foreseeable starter for the Edmonton Elks. And they even went out and got Austin Mack, who just had success with the Montreal Alouettes and Cody Fajardo back in 2023. So they're pushing forward with Fajardo. A lot of people were calling for him to be the guy earlier last year. They turned it over to him. He played better than Ford did in his minutes. So it's going to be really interesting to see, because there's always the potential of Trey Ford, and I think there's always been that potential, but he's never really gotten the opportunity. And then last year when he did get the opportunity, it didn't go well, and then they wanted Cody Fajardo. A lot of people wanted Cody Fajardo, and Fajardo came in and immediately kind of played better and showed that it might have been a quarterback issue. So that definitely works against Trey Ford, all of those things. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, what is his future in the CFL? I think it's a great question, Remo, and one that maybe we'll get an answer to in the next 2 weeks here when free agency officially opens.
Yeah, it's been a busy week for CFL news. The Elks signing Austin Mack, releasing Trey Ford, and the Blue Bombers, they announced with Stanley Bryant returning. So we had a nice edition of Winnipeg Stand Talk, and then Tim White at receiver. The tampering period begins Sunday. Connor, I got to do our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll for our favorite Olympic sports. I mean, this is a pretty tough task here. What I'm going to put in. I mean, let me just finish. I got to add. I wanted to ask the chat. I mean, the Olympics starting next week.
Good question.
What is everyone looking forward to seeing? I think ice hockey, number one. We can put that in. Here, let me put. But I'm going to put my list in here, and we had a great conversation before. So here's our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll on Winter Olympic sports that we are looking forward to skiing or seeing, huh? See the slip there? But I see Schickster says he's a big bobsleigh luge skeleton guy. I don't know if those are my favorite, but I think it is pretty crazy. What do we say? Mogul says Running Man. Cruiser says shorts track speed skating. MC Stormy snowboarding. Here's mine. We talked before. This is what I'm putting for our power poll. All right, 5, speed skating. Love the short track. Very exciting. Makes me think, I could do it, but you have crashes, you have lead changes. They got that bell. Canada, historically one winner of a lot of medals in speed skating. Legend Sydney Klassen from Winnipeg, Claire Hughes. I remember growing up watching speed skating, 02 Olympics. Nice. Awesome stuff. 4, curling. Could Canada do 3 golds possibly, because there is mixed now, men's and women's. Rachel Homan looking to get back on the podium, and Brad Jacobs for the men. Alpine skiing, downhill, Super G, slalom, very exciting. Downhill is just crazy, the speed that these athletes can get. 2, I got snowboarding. I think there's all encompassing there. Half pipe, amazing. And also a snow cross, legendary event, I think made famous by Lindsay Jacobellis when she did the trick near the end and lost out on a gold medal. I think she got it back a couple years later. Number 1, ice hockey. I mean, how could it not be, with the best on best returning this year?
Exactly. There's an argument, for me at least, in my personal power poll, of ice hockey not being number 1 if the NHL players aren't there. But the NHL players are there. It's best on best. We've been asking for this forever. It has to be number 1. The alpine skiing, I think for me, would be number 2, Remo. And there's a part of this to I'm not a great skier at all, but I love just kicking back on the couch and being like, oh yeah, that wide turn that they took going 1,000,000 kilometers an hour down this mountain at Mach 10 speed is going to mess them up. Their timing is just crazy. You take one off turn or where you lean the wrong way, it's over. And it's crazy how slim the margins are. So I love the alpine skiing. A lot of people in chat are saying the freestyle ski jumps too. All the flips that they're doing, crazy, crazy stuff. Can't even imagine doing that. Bobsled, luge, skeleton. Those are crazy as well. And then the short track speed skating, big fan of that as well. It's just aesthetically pleasing watching them skate and the way that they skate so low to the ground. So very, very, this power poll is great. I think I would flip alpine skiing and snowboarding personally, but I'm on board with you.
Yes, I can't wait. There's so many other great events. I think figure skating is the most popular, one of the most popular in terms of TV ratings. And look, I've been invested in the past in the Tessa Virtue, Scott Moyer routine, Jamie Salé, David Pelletier. I'll see if it grabs me. I'm able to be watching at home. There's so many events and it's all available on all the channels. So CBC, I think they do a great job here. Can't wait to see. So that is our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. And yes,
Remo.
Yeah.
Hold on. Just before, what's the one where they ski and then stop and shoot and then keep skiing?
Biathlon. That's a cross country. Those events are crazy. They're so tired, so exhausted.
They got to lower their heart rate to stay steady. Oh, crazy.
That's one of the ones where this is a real event here. They're skiing and then shooting a gun. And then if you miss your shots, you got to do penalty laps.
Yeah.
It's all great. You put it on. We're going to be talking about it. We'll see what athletes. I think that was the best part about the summer games, in Paris, where I think there were people, not necessarily Canadian, that became stars that you got captivated towards. And then, hey, if you like them, I think you can keep track of what they're up to, follow them on social media, many of them adding that as part of their repertoire, posting day to day. updates. It is time, though, to look at the cool bet lines right now as I bring them up. And I do have to mention CoolBet has this great bonus out there now. Use promo code WSTSB60. This is an offer for loyal WSTers looking to sprinkle a little bit on the Super Bowl. They'll double your deposit up to $60. Again, promo code WSTSB60. The bonus code will run until kickoff and comes with a very player-friendly, only one-time rollover. So as always, stay cool, bet responsibly. And let's check out a couple NHL games tonight. We have the Blue Jackets, who've been very good under Rick Bowness. Road favorites against Chicago, -147. The Kings, Flyers, even 109, -109 each side. The Avs, they're lost to Montreal yesterday. I think they're due for a blow-up, -154 favorites in Detroit, who we talked about today. The Penguins, big favorites at home to the Rangers. And the Sharks, coming off a heartbreaking loss to Edmonton in overtime yesterday. They're into Calgary for their trip through Alberta. Is there a game here tonight that you've got your eye on?
Yeah, Remo, I just want to comment quickly on that Sharks game last night. I mean, the Oilers down 3-0, but then again, you get the empty net out there, all of those things, and McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, it's nasty. It's actually only one game in the NHL tonight, Remo. It's Blue Jackets, Blackhawks. All of these other games are Saturday. So it's a one game slate tonight.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I see that. Oh my God. There's only one game on tonight?
It's at 7:30. It's the bonus Blackhawks or Blue Jackets against the Blackhawks.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is this? NHL? And there's probably like 15 games on tomorrow. Oh yeah. There was so many every game. This is why I hate the NHL schedule. I'll never forget the first Friday of the season. They had one game.
One game.
What are these guys doing? They couldn't have. I know there were a lot of games yesterday, but I guess it's nice that I don't have to watch tonight. I'm not going to be captivated towards Blue Jackets, Blackhawks.
I guess, yeah, that's true. But we're at the time of the sports calendar too. We're like, what else? Like of the major sports, there's only the Super Bowl left. If you're a basketball fan, I guess there's basketball.
Yeah.
Baseball's not here yet. Yeah. So
there is the Scotties.
Yeah.
There is the Scotties here. I had the results. Carey Einarsson beat the other Manitoba team, Peterson, this afternoon, and then it's Caitlin Laws. Is that game over? Caitlin Laws, yes, victorious. That game just ended over Black of Nova Scotia. So I think they go to the Page 3-4, and then you'll have Laws and Einarsson, and then a semifinal and the gold medal final taking place this weekend. So it could be high odds of one of the Manitoba teams, either Einarsson or Laws, taking over here with the gold.
Nice.
And here, going back to the odds, here we can check out they don't have the futures quite yet, but we do have, Royal Rumble. We talked about that yesterday with Pat. Roman Reigns, the heavy favorite here, plus 110. And we got another UFC. I thought there was a UFC last weekend, but apparently we had 324, now on to 325. Got to be honest, I'm not up to UFC like I was, back in 20 years ago when there wasn't a fight every weekend, but it's tough to keep track. And we do have, how about this tennis? Alcaraz and Djokovic. Alcaraz, a -294. That is what, 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Or is that 2 a.m. on February 1st? Is that what that is?
It's Sunday?
Is that 2 a.m.?
Let's see. I think it is, yeah, because you look at all the hockey games and they're in the 24-hour clock. So yeah,
terrible.
2 a.m.
What? I guess I'm not going to be going to bed.
So
I guess 2:30 a.m.
Wow.
I guess Saturday night you're having a late one. The bars close at 2. Come home 2:30. I mean, that's what I would have done in my younger days. I remember coming home from the bar once. There was like a rain delay. It was like 4 a.m. There was a rain delayed Dodgers game. It was like, this is so awesome.
That's living the dream right there.
That was Nothing like late night sports. So yeah, 2:30 a.m. Saturday night into Sunday morning. Djokovic, Alcaraz. It could be a while. You might even wake up early and catch the end of it. Maybe that is the play.
Yeah.
We do have Seahawks. Yes. It might be. We do Seahawks Patriots. Connor, I don't know if you've leaning anything, but -4.5 here for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a Seahawks Super Bowl victory. Again, it's not this Sunday, the Super Bowl, it's next Sunday, but I just think they're so loaded. And the Patriots, I know that they're great and they can only play the teams in front of them, and they took care of the teams in front of them, but I don't necessarily believe in the path that they took. So I'm going to be siding with the Seahawks, even at the 4.5 number. And as we dove into it with Pat yesterday, there's a lot of the specials. That's the best part of the Super Bowl for me when my team is not in it, betting on the obscure things like the coin toss or the national anthem. So looking forward to that and the Super Bowl as well. And there will be an NFL WST winners next week where Huss, Jake, and Pat will go through all of their picks. Looking forward to that as well.
Might have to hand in your 49ers fan card saying that you're going to cheer for the Seahawks.
Okay. A little emotional hedge. Can I get an emotional hedge? Like I'll cheer for the Patriots, but bet on the Seahawks. I don't know.
Yes.
I win either way.
And we do have the outdoor game. Yes. Waiters noting on Sunday at the Gasparilla Festival. They traditionally would have the All-Star game this week with in the Super Bowl bye week, but there is no All-Star game because they're going to the Olympics. Isn't that pretty awesome? The marble race, it's open. Connor, everyone type in ! marbles. We're going to get to that in a second. And if you want to go to the Moose game, the Moose are playing Saturday and Sunday at 2 against the Rockford Ice Hogs. The link is in the description. And I'm closing all my tabs now. I have so many open. Maybe at least 50 tabs across like 4 or 5 browsers.
Trying to edit that video earlier.
It doesn't help when you got like 60 plus tabs open. It's gross, really gross.
Yeah,
so,
doesn't help. No.
So there we go. Well, here we're gonna get to the marble race, but first time for Tristan Rivers music. Let's go.
It's Friday, another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat yourself, maybe an ice cream cake or a bottle of rye. Phone the whole day in, so lax you can't deny. Why use effort even for pleasure? Give blind luck a try. It's time to do a marble race. No skill separating best to worst. Marble race. Just type marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race. Don't spam or you will suffer. Oh, let's play marble race. Get to your mark before it's too late. Set, go.
Tristan Rivers in the style of the Backstreet Boys, although it does kind of sound like Bon Jovi. And yes, hopefully I don't get flagged by YouTube for copyright infringement. His Guns N' Roses one, I think he does a little note change, so it's not exactly it, but I did get flagged for copyright monetization. So Guns N' Roses is taking all the ad revenue from, I don't know, from the one a couple weeks ago. And speaking of Tristan, Connor, I'm going to be rating his music video after this show. His band 9 Lives, Crazy After Midnight. So I'll have some info on that. All right. People wanted to bet on how many tabs I had open.
Hammer the over.
People said over 49.5. I'm not so sure. We
Way
do have,
over.
I don't know
Way
how many
over.
people you think we have in this marble race. There's 270 people in chat. There's, I think it was like two.
Is this Price is Right rules? You guess first, and then I'll go one person.
225 entries. It's pretty good entry to viewer ratio, but we only have how many likes is that on the video? I can't even see.
Here, I gotta refresh.
It doesn't even show me. 110 likes on the video.
110.
There's 276 people in here. Hey, if you're here and watching, please do us a favor. Hit the thumbs up. Tells YouTube we're putting out some great content on our channel, and maybe it'll show it to more people, as we all depend on the almighty algorithm for discovery.
Yeah, people are wondering in chat, are you going to put Huss in all caps in there, or he's in Costa Rica? He's out.
He's in, and he did post.
He's in. Okay.
He's in. He did post a picture ready for the Costa Rica Poker Open. Here, marbles, Jan 30. Check out what Hustler's up to. It's main event time. The WST crew is locked and loaded at the Costa Rica Poker Open. There they are. And there's Jeff, the winner, Greg, and that's Jeff's twin brother.
Jeff again.
Jeff again. No, it's his twin brother. Isn't that crazy? I'm seeing double here. Two Jeffs.
See a double. We need Jeff's brother to show up, like just do a hit, like once at CFL 110 to open the season. It's just Jeff's brother. See if anyone notices.
I don't know if they've ever pulled the switcheroo on us like Henrik and Daniel. Used to. But pretty awesome for them. And then here's the venue that they're playing at in Costa Rica. They got a Hustler took the great trip: Winnipeg, Calgary, Toronto, Costa Rica.
Holy,
hey, there's
wrong way there.
A lot of flight delays out there with the snowstorms on the weekend and the weather. Well, I don't know if you can
so
find
you can fly
online.
from Calgary to Toronto, but you can't fly from Winnipeg to Toronto. I guess they must have needed a plane. I don't know, man. I'm not going to try and dive into why that was. Sounds like a mess.
Sounds like a mess. I'm enjoying all the comments here. People dying to see a video of Hustler at the pool again. He did the famous one in Qatar. He had one at the Lazy River in Vegas. I think he had a pool video last year where very clearly didn't have sunscreen on.
I remember that. Yes.
So I told him many times, like, Hustler, man, you got to bring, if you're going, like, bring sunscreen. Like, you got to be safe out there. I don't know if he did.
And he never does. He never does.
Hustler,
I'm sure he doesn't. I'd love to see, like, if we get a Logan Stanley trade in the next couple of days or something notable for the Winnipeg Jets, then he'll have to go to the Lazy River and get one of those videos going for sure.
Yeah. Going to the chat as I load this marble race. Thanks, everyone, for your patience. Frog Splasher says, who's winning the Rumble? It seems like Roman Reigns. It's his match to win. It's in the afternoon. It's in Saudi Arabia Rumble. This is the real Rumble, not the greatest Royal Rumble. I'm pulling up a track. I don't know if I have a track. Stormy, is there a track out there that's pretty good that we haven't done for a while? He writes down all the tracks, and I do not. I got to keep better records of this. Connor, but before we bring out the marbles, big plans for the weekend. No hockey on tonight, only one game. What's on the schedule for Connor?
Yeah, nothing much tonight. And tomorrow, actually, checking out the RV show. The Mid-Canada RV and boat sale. Yes, Remo. I am fired up for that. It's my dad's birthday on Sunday, and it always this RV boat sale always falls on his birthday weekend. So we always go as a family. It's always cool to see these like $600,000 motorhomes that are just like insane. Like, I don't even know like how they keep innovating these bigger and grander motorhomes. and boats and all of these things. But it's cool to check out the latest and greatest in the camping world and the technology there. What's up for you this weekend?
Oh, shuttling my kids to and from activities. It's the amount of back-to-backs. It's crazy. So
tough schedule. Yeah,
man, my son's he's got hockey in the morning and then an outdoor hockey tournament. So I'm monitoring the temperature. I've got the I've got the warm gear, but I'm worried about it, Connor. I'm worried.
It's not going to be too bad. Well, okay, everything is relative to the minus 51 we had last Sunday, but -6 both days, Saturday, Sunday. That's not too bad.
Really?
That's the high.
Okay.
That's the high. The low is like -21, -18. Although that's Apple weather. What's everyone's favorite weather app? That'll get the chat going.
I'm weather. And then actually, I do need to give a shout out. There was some sad news in entertainment today before we went live. I was shocked to see Canadian comedy legend Catherine O'Hara passed away at age 71. Started SCTV. You may know her as Kevin's mom in Home Alone, Schitt's Creek, so many Beetlejuice. She had a great part most recently in The Studio on Apple TV. So that was a stunner. I texted. I think I screamed when I looked at my phone. I haven't seen anything about the cause. It's definitely an unfortunate loss, but I think we'll be binging some Catherine O'Hara classics this weekend. People are saying, people are wanting me to do Champions Record Racing. It is not there anymore. That one is not there. So unfortunate, Connor. So I guess I'll just have to pick one. I can't type and talk. I don't know. Stormy, give me one more.
Maybe go to one of the classics. We always go to the classics, though.
Okay, I'll do this Sunny World Universe right here. This one.
For Huss in Costa Rica.
Sunny World Universe. We're going to think.
Yeah.
We're going to think.
And Kenny.
Big thoughts. Yes.
And for Lee Hacksaw Hamilton publicly calling out Ken Wiebe for joining the show in a t-shirt from the palm trees.
Ken, you know what? I'm just thankful Ken wants to hop on, so he can wear whatever he wants. It was great talking Jets with Ken. We'll see how they fare tomorrow in Florida. I was disappointed he didn't come on dressed like a pirate, ready for Gasparilla Festival, and how he actually complained that it wrecked his. I don't like this track. That it wrecked his hotel booking.
Yeah. I could see that for sure. Everyone trying to get down there. I thought are we sure the spiked hotel prices aren't because of the big hockey game this weekend, Remo? No,
you know what? That could have been it too, actually.
No. I'm joking.
So?
I mean, it's Florida hockey. No. I mean, I think what is it? What's the name of this festival? I think it's a bigger thing. Clearly, I know so much about
Gasparilla. It's a huge. It's the pirate festival. You never heard of it? Anyways, okay. MC Stormy says we haven't done Temple of Steve in ages, so we will do that as I bring it up right now. Is it in here? I don't even see it. Oh, there it is. So we got 226 marbles in. As I make sure I load today's. And I will mention again, Moose tickets for tomorrow. If anyone wants to go put your name in, I pin the comment, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. And we're going to the Temple of Steve.
Love it.
All right. I'm going to take a drink of water because we're calling this game. I get to do my favorite impression of play-by-play.
Yeah.
Do my best Dan Robertson here.
Best Paul Edmonds, yeah.
Best Paul Edmonds, yeah. What was Paul's line for the Jets
Bingo,
goal?
bango, bongo.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have one of those. Today. But it's been a great week, Connor, talking Jets. Tomorrow I'll be back. We'll be back Monday. Olympic preview, Jets weekend. Maybe we'll see a Jets win in Florida. And they are playing Dallas on Monday, 7:30. WST Maddie says, I need this to win this quickly. You got to pick up the kids from school. Waiters wanted a marble for Tim White. Next time. Everyone's saying Hustler needs to be here to rein me in as I keep stalling. But we're going to get out, and then I'll raid Tristan Rivers, his band 9 Lives. He's got the music video coming at 3:30. So they're through the funnel. We got Derek Schmidt in there and the real Spency 1-2. Ty Petkow, I see, but it's really anyone's race at this point. Through another loop, we're going to go through this one. And I got this first obstacle, a spinny thing. It's going to knock off a couple people. There's the chop off. Derek Schmidt's still leading. We do have Herb Sturman, the Herbster, former winner. M. Klassen, number 1 now. But they're coming fast and fierce. There's a couple obstacles. There's 2 ways here. They can go the left or the right. And there's another spinning bar either way, trying to separate the fastest marbles from the have-nots. They're converging now into the 2 parkade loop-de-loops. I don't know what to call these things, but they're coming out, and we're going to see who's got the shot here. It's Jambust and Corey Haika in there. Schickster in the mix. They're going through. And Mike Irving makes away. But V-ball coach Mike takes out Mike Irving. And they're coming down this long straightaway towards the finish in the Temple of Steve, where someone is going to get eliminated and someone will make it through to the platform that is rotating left and right. V-ball coach Mike and Mike Irving, they're going left, they're going right, but the platform is there. Oh, it's going over to the left side now. Will someone fall on it? There's V-ball coach Mike. Can he make it down in time before it moves? Who's going to get through? No, it's moving. Oh, my God. Everyone's following Hustler, and it's Benjamin Gann who makes it on. Oh, man. That was a crazy one.
It was almost Huss.
Hustler, he fell off right at the end.
Yeah.
And it was Benjamin Gann making his way, James Stevenson, Mike G., Wayne Gretzky, Rob Robinson, Bryce YWG, Kiwis, Herb Sturman, Isabella Mers, and Elias McCracken. That was a crazy finish there. And that's what you get when you pick Temple of Steve. Connor, how about that one?
That was awesome. I was worried Huss was going to win. We can't have him win when he's in Costa Rica. That's too much for 1 week. So congrats to Benjamin. Love it.
That's awesome. And there's a couple stragglers. I see Will Sutton there making his way in. Brian Norman, Cody Karen, and the WST Hollywood audio gremlin. Yeah, we had the video gremlin today as well, which I had to navigate through. Thank you, everyone, for your patience during those technical difficulties. Great job, Connor, as I had to throw to you for that one. So here's the list we're going through. I see the real Spency, Nick Lynham, everyone's in there, Turd Ferguson, Murray Sizzlers, I see, Schnitzy, Tico Napoli, 32nd, Patrolman Pete, a lot of regulars in here, Scardy, Matthew Hyman, Bozeman, going down. I see, Shane Payne, Earl James, Derek Schmidt was in first, ended up finishing 58th. Let's see, you guys see Trevor Bird, he's excited about the poker, iHeart, 76, only 85 finishers of the 226. That's the one thing about the Temple of Steve. Well, it's a bloodbath. You know, not a lot of people are going to finish, but you're going to have an entertaining one. There's T-Well. And throwing down, I see last week's winner. Didn't Justin Fung win last week? He did not finish. I mean, that's how it's going to happen. You're either finish or you don't in this one. You can't really care about what place you're in at the Temple of Steve because everyone just falls off the cliff as the platform moves left to right. Well, what a week it's been. Connor, it's been a blast talking Jets with you. Unfortunately, we're not able to come up with the win last night, but plenty of great stuff to look forward to as the trade deadline approaches. CFL free agency, tampering period. I'm sure we'll have a ton of news about who's meeting or who's verbally agreed to a contract. And Olympic preview as well, continuing hockey, but the other sports as well, we mentioned.
Yeah, can't wait for next week, the Olympics getting going. And yeah, it was an absolute blast being here all week, Remo. Love filling in on the big show. I'm back Monday and Tuesday, and then Huss is Wednesday. now he's back a day with the travel issues. And Sunday morning, 9 a.m., Liz and I will be firing up WST Sunday Live, breaking down Jets Panthers, previewing Monday's game against the Stars, and then Remo, you and I will be back Monday. So it's been an awesome week and looking forward to chatting it up 2 more times next week before Huss comes back.
Yes, and we're going to go to Tristan Rivers' music video. There's no hidden Easter eggs, he says this time, but he hopes listeners appreciate it. And there are a few correct answers in the Easter egg for the last video. Schickster wins a prize of his choosing from Tristan. So check out their song coming up. Shout out to Tristan for making the great Marble Race songs that we play every week as well. And thank you to our guests, Jesse Campigotto, Ken Wiebe, Hacksaw. Thank you to our sponsors. Without them, would not be here. Winnipeg Jets, WST night, Jets Habs, Feb 4, winnipegjets.com/WST, Uptown Alley, Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental, Canadian Club, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba Battery, Clean Line, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, and Cool Bet. So for Connor Hrabchak, I'm Michael Remis. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Bye-bye.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.